Hello, we are live with some Chess League TV. Who would have thought? We are okay. That's an echo. I just want to check and make sure everything's working as it should. So my Twitch stream looks good. I'm gonna go post in Slack. So we have 3 games on our roster for today. The first is going to be Archon versus PM Your Pepes. That's a board 2 matchup. Then we have Fisher56 versus Arsenal Fan Richie, another board 2 matchup. And Chetu versus Infernal Jumble on board 3. So I'm looking forward to all of these. And we actually have a game that's already started 8 or 9 minutes ahead of time. And it looks like the players have made some moves. So let's see exactly what we have here. So this is the game Archon versus PM Your Pepes. Archon playing the white pieces here, and PM Your Pepes with the black pieces. And Archon plays c4, the English. Black responds f5. Very interesting, a sort of mirror defense, if you will. White played the third file pawn. Black also plays the third file pawn. And black is indicating, hey, I like to play the Dutch. Want to play d4 and transpose into a Dutch? And let's see what Archon did exactly. He did play d4. So here, white has a lot of options, of course. White can go knight c3, white can go g3, but Archon decides to go d4 and says, I'm happy to play a Dutch. I am good with playing a Dutch here. And the players, oh, let me not do that actually. Let me just get the moves. The players bang out their moves pretty quickly. Knight f6, knight c3, e6, e3. Interesting. So the main move here for white is white usually plays a system with g3 and tries to exert pressure on the queen side using the fianchetto light square bishop, and black will try and checkmate white on the king side. But Archon plays this e3 move, and this is actually a move that I like to play. And what you do is you go bishop d3, queen c2, the knight can come out to e2 or f3, you castle, and you play for e4. And if the black player isn't careful, they can get in a lot of trouble in this opening. It seems sort of quiet and unassuming, this e3 move, because you are locking this bishop in its cage. But these lines can be pretty pleasant for white, especially if white is allowed to get this e4 break-in unhindered. So, not at all a bad decision. Not the main line, but probably decent. Okay, bishop b4 from the black player. Oh, I keep forgetting. I'm not gonna touch the pieces. So the white player, or sorry, the black player goes bishop b4, and here I think Archon plays a little bit suspect. He plays bishop d3, which looks so natural. Like, how could this possibly be a bad move? And the reason is it gives black one extra option, which is probably a decent option for black. Black does have the option of taking here and doubling white's pawns. And this is probably pretty good. I mean, not good for black, but black should be fine in this position because now white has a structural weakness on the queen side, and black will actually get sort of Nimzo-like play, except white has slowed down his assault on the king side because of this move f5. So black, for instance, can go b6, put the bishop on a6, bring the knight to a5, and put pressure on this weakness on c4. So instead of this e3, or sorry, this bishop d3 move, I think more accurate is to first play queen c2, because the queen wants to go on c2 anyway, support this diagonal, and this just removes this option from black. Black can no longer, okay, that's not how that works. Black can no longer, I mean, they can take here, but you take with the queen, and white has a great position. So bishop d3, probably slightly more accurate, but no harm, no foul. Black decides not to take, decides to go b6. I would like to see black take. I think it's actually black's best try, but b6, it's certainly playable. Black has not done irreparable harm to his position. But white is really getting what he wants, knight e2, and now taking is ridiculous because the knight just replaces itself. So I think black maybe missed a little bit of a positional opportunity there. Knight e2, bishop b7, that's sensible. Black could also think about castling here, but he played b6, might as well play bishop b7, makes sense to me. Castles, castles, very good. Everyone's castling. Everyone went to chess camp and learned the 3 principles of the opening: developing your pieces, controlling the center, and castling. Both sides have 3 pieces out, both sides are castled. White is slightly better because white has slightly better control of the center. That makes sense. And a3 from Archon. This is a good move because, first of all, black clearly cannot go back to a5 because b4 will come with the win of the piece. But black is also not really interested in taking this, giving up the advantage of 2 bishops for almost really nothing. So black is forced to play bishop e7, which is the best move. This is a good move. But here, white is just doing very well. White has a lot of space. And I like white's position quite a bit. Archon went b4. This is a fine move. The idea is probably to go bishop b2, queen c2, the rooks come to the center. White has a lot of queenside space, and eventually white can find a way to lash out with either c5 or d5. I do want to briefly point out another alternative here, which I think is a good move for white, and that's the move f3. Because in these positions, I always like playing for this e4 break. It just gives white such control of the center if he's able to get a lock on the e4 square. And especially if he's able to put a pawn on the e4 square. This f3 move also blunts black's bishop. Wow, what a sentence. Once you get e4 in, all of a sudden this bishop has a future on g5 or f4. So I like this f3 move. b4 is probably good as well, with a slightly different idea of going bishop b2 and maybe playing for some queenside breaks such as c5 or maybe even a4, a5 in the future. All possibilities. But when you play this sort of queenside plan, you do give black a little bit more leeway to play on the king's side. I would expect a move such as d6, knight d7, and then maybe trying to play e5 and contesting the center. Although it is a little bit hard to play e5 with the pawn on f5 because the f5 pawn usually hangs. You can also go for the traditional Dutch maneuver of queen e8 and bring the queen over. Try and play for f4 in some capacity. The knight on e2 does do a good job of stopping f4. I think white is just simply better in this position. I like white's position quite a bit. Who is speaking to me? Undercooked Chicken 1. Is this Tom? This might be Tom. I am reading the chat, but I was commentating. So yeah, that's the roundup on this game. Let's see if any of our other games have started. Yes! Fisher56 versus Arsenal fan Richie has started. Let's check that out really quickly. So that's our second game of the day. I have to bring up my live board and my players board. So, our second game, where's my study? Here it is Fisher56 versus Arsenal fan Richie. So let's see what happened here. E4, E6, D4, D5, a French defense. And okay, we had the Tarrasch variation of the French defense, and Black played the blow up the center Tarrasch defense. I call it the blow up the center Tarrasch defense. It's known as the open Tarrasch, where Black immediately opens the center. I prefer to play the closed Tarrasch, where White will play E5 here, and the position closes. There's no more pawn tension in the center. That is not to say the closed Tarrasch is better than the open Tarrasch. In fact, when the French Tarrasch is seen at the highest level, it is usually this open Tarrasch, which means that grandmasters seem to prefer this line. I will say in the closed Tarrasch, White generally has some edge for quite some time. So the open Tarrasch here, we saw ED5, ED5, yes, that makes sense. Bishop B5 check. This is not a line that I'm familiar with. I believe the move that I'm familiar with is Knight GF3. Well, no, most people take with the queen here. That's why I'm confused. That's why I was confused, because the main recapture from the Black perspective is to take with the queen. And Black loses some time with the queen, but has a more solid structure. So this is more common, actually. Whereas after E-D5, Black is accepting a structural concession. He will be left with an isolated queen pawn. But he also has the benefit of this bishop is a better piece than when the pawn is on e6. The bishop is not blocked in. However, this bishop will still be bad because of the pawn on d5. So here, bishop b5 check was offered. I prefer knight f3, I think. I don't know if this bishop wants to go to b5, really. Especially because Black is... I mean, Black can play knight c6, but I think even bishop d7 is fine. Trading this bishop off, he tends to not be a great piece. And here, after takes and probably knight takes, getting ready to recapture with the knight on c5. Black's position, there's nothing wrong with it. Black should be fine. I like keeping the light square bishop on. It's a good attacking piece that can put pressure on d5. And my phone's going off. So I prefer knight f3 here, but I don't think bishop b5 is any losing move. Just maybe not the most accurate. Knight c6 played. That's fine. Knight c6. Then we saw knight gf3, bishop d7. If you're going to play bishop d7, I would have played it the last move. I think you play knight c6 in order to put the bishop on a more active square like g4. So I think here it's sensible to just go knight f6, bishop e7, castles, and then bring the bishop out to an active square. That's sort of why we put the knight on c6 instead of playing bishop d7. But okay, bishop d7 played. Not the most active square for the bishop. I'm not thrilled to put my bishop on d7. I don't think that was forced. Castles. Knight f6, rook e1, I assume bishop e7. Let's check. Yep, bishop e7. dc5, now that the bishop has moved, it makes more sense to make this capture. And castles. And here, white has a decision to make regarding whether he wants to try and hold this pawn, because black is ready to take on c5 and have at least a very playable position. I think black shouldn't be too much worse here. He has good activity for his pieces, although I'm still not happy about this piece on d7, sort of gumming up the works a little bit. But let's see, can white hold this pawn? Is a big question to ask here. Like, say, as white, this knight is in the way, it needs to move. So knight b3 looks very natural to me. And I can't imagine that white is doing poorly there. S2004K. ED5 is a favorite of Korchnoi. Bishop b5 is a tricky move when knight c6 is slightly incorrect because of queen e2 check. Let's quickly look at what S2000K is talking about. After knight c6, he's saying white can go queen e2 check. But I don't see why this is such a huge problem after bishop e7. Here I think black should be fine. Again, dc5, I'll go knight f6, castle, and we'll have a position similar to the game, except the queen's on e2, and I'm not sure that's really where it wants to be. The queen maybe has some extra mobility. So, but I mean, even bishop d7 here can't be so bad. Oh yeah, I think black is doing fine. Knight f6, rook e1 check, bishop e7, dc5, castles. And here I would expect knight b3 from white. And black may have to play on compensation for the pawn, which is not so unrealistic. He may have some very real compensation for this pawn. Knight b3, I'm not sure exactly what black is doing. I want to move this piece. This piece is in the way. Or maybe I want to play a6 and move this piece. But I mean, bishop g4 looks like a natural move. Or even rook e8, just developing a new piece. Interesting position. This will not be a boring game, I don't think. Well, let's see if has knight b3. Knight b3 was played in the game, so we're looking at the game position, and black actually quickly plays a6 in the game, just driving the piece back. But I think white has a pleasant position here. Maybe not so amazing, but pleasant. Let's see if our third game has started. Yes, our third game has started, so let me get this one going. This is our game between Chetu and Infernal Jumble. So let me get the live board and the everything else up. Players. So this is our third game of the day between Chetu and Infernal Jumble. Which player has the white pieces? Chetu with the white pieces. So let's see what we got. We have some King's Indian, d4, knight f6, c4, g6, knight c3, bishop g7, bishop f4. Interesting. So this is not a variation of the King's Indian I am aware of. And looking at my database, it's been played 50 times. So clearly not a main line. Of course, the main move here is e4. There's a few games with knight f3, a few games with g3. Bishop f4 is a very rare move here, but not so awful. The only problem with this is a lot of times black wants to play e5 in the King's Indian, and e5 will come with more tempo than usual because of the bishop being on f4. So probably not the most accurate move in the position. But it can be a surprise if you just want to play chess, you don't want to play a ton of theory. The King's Indian can be one of the most theoretical opens, especially if you go for these sharp e4 lines where you castle short and you have to be worried about getting checkmated. So this is just sort of saying, we're going to play chess, we're not going to play theory. Let's see what happened. Bishop f4, d6, e3 castles. d6, e3 castles, bishop d3, interesting, okay. And here black goes c5. And already we're out of the database. So c5, white goes d5 here. I would be tempted not to play d5 and close the position. Because I think after d5, well, no, this would be a pleasant Benoni for white. I think d5 is a fine move. I would just imagine if black were to swap on d4, white would still have a very nice position. So I would be tempted to play something like knight f3. And if black ever exchanges these pawns, it can only be good for white. White has a ton of space in the center. Unless black can organize e5, black should be not worse here. But after c5, the white player went d5, which is a pleasant Benoni because the bishop is already on f4, exerting pressure on this pawn. So if black were to ever go e6, swap these off, this pawn would be very weak, especially to this maneuver, putting even more pressure on the d6 square. So this should also be quite pleasant for white. d5, and black goes a6. Looking for b5, it's not... Oh, b5 actually is playable, because both of these units... Is it playable? No, it's not playable. b5 is not playable yet. Hold on. That's tricky because of queen a5 check. b5 is playable. So say white makes a bad move. b5 is a threat here, with the point being takes, takes. You have to take with the bishop here, because knight takes... if you play knight takes pawn, you're hanging your d5 pawn. So you take with the bishop, and I have this. No, there's queen takes. I'm sorry, this is ridiculous. No, this doesn't work at all. I thought I had this trick, and my point was on knight takes, there's queen a5 check, and I actually win my material back. Knight c3 is the only move to hold this piece, and bishop c3 wins the piece back. But after knight d5, there's queen d5, and none of this works. So b5 is not a threat yet, but you have to calculate that sort of stuff. There can be some tricks on these diagonals if you're not careful. I've played the Benko before, and that's something you have to look out for. Okay, so those are our 3 games. We got the Dutch in our first game. Our second game is that open Tarrasch that's probably good for white, and our third game is this Benoni King's Adian, where I think white has a very pleasant position. So let's see what's happening in our Dutch, how we're doing over here. So in our Dutch, oh, the board appears to be frozen. Let me fix that. Great. So in our Dutch, we just saw b4, knight c6 on the board. Can't be a bad move. It develops a piece. Although, I don't know, like, is this a problem for you? Does your knight have to go back to b5? I guess your knight has a square on a5, but then your knight's on a5, right? That's always the trade-off that you face there. You could play knight a5, but unfortunately your knight's on a5. I would think about this move. That's not so pleasant to face. Something like can I go c5? No, I can't go c5 yet. That's too much. This is probably unnecessary. I think white's position is good enough that he doesn't have to enter anything speculative like this. White can just go bishop b2 and continuing to play normal chess. That's a little too crazy for my taste, going b5. Knight c6, bishop b2 on the board. Queen e8, we talked about this. The queen's going to meander to the king side somewhere. You know, we'll go g5. We'll try and checkmate. Typical Dutch things. Queen e8 and d5. Okay, so white's going for a different version of this. So my first instinct was to absolutely never take this pawn. You can. f5 becomes super weak. So, I mean, knight e5 looks like the move. Was that played? Oh, that's not the right game. Yeah, knight e5. Ooh, we have some tactics appearing on the board. So knight e5. Here white goes knight b5. Maybe this was his idea when he played d5. This is very interesting because the problem is you actually can't really move this bishop because, let's say you go bishop c2, your c4 pawn is hanging and your position is a disaster. So Erkan must have seen this knight b5 idea. This must have been what he was going for, because otherwise giving up the 2 bishops for not much, especially when black's light square bishop will be very powerful, would not be a good idea. So knight b5, probably the only try here. I'm not convinced it's such a great move, however, because say I defend this threat, you still have problems with this pawn. Ah, but the knight hangs. I'm starting to see all the intricacies here. But hold up. I take this. This must be just good for black, no? Because on knight c7 there's this. And black is winning in this position. I think. Yeah, black wins. Black wins a piece. Black wins a piece here. So After knight b5, knight d3, you have to take this. But now you've lost the two bishops. So now I'll just go... So queen d8 would be a mistake, because then... actually, this is playable, although maybe not great. The reason I would say this is a mistake is there's this pin along the file, and the queen is the sole protector of the c7 pawn, so you have to take with the bishop, which is not ideal. But black does have two bishops and long-term prospects in this position. Also, black will probably go e5 and have a nice control of the center here. So I really don't like this idea that Archon has played, because it feels like it just doesn't quite work the way he wanted. And indeed, this was played in the game. After knight d3, queen d3 was played. But now you've given up the two bishops, and I don't really see your compensation. Like, I'll simply defend c7, play a6, and then I'll claim that this bishop on b7 is very, very strong. And I think I'm not a great chess player, but I think this time I'm right. This is going to be a very powerful bishop. White's going to have some problems on the king side this game. So I don't like this at all. I think d5 is a mistake. Probably miscalculating this line after knight b5, knight d3, knight c7. Not realizing that this comes with a tempo on the queen or something like that. Missing some tactical detail here. So, yeah, instead of d5, and d5 does look a little premature, why not build up our position, right? Go queen c2, go f3, e4, and just claim that I have massive space and you're not going to checkmate me? That would be my claim. Now, sometimes I'm wrong, but it would be my claim. I think this makes more sense than this d5 move, but okay. Knight e5, knight b5 takes, queen takes, only move. Queen c8 played, guarding the pawn. And d6. That's clever. So he will win a bishop back. This is a move I missed. But did I have to go queen c8? Like, say... That's an interesting idea. I will give you that. I don't know though. I'm worried for White's king side in this position. Like, maybe I can just go queen g6. This looks so awful for White. And say like, yeah, I have my pawn, but you're just gonna encounter massive problems, is my claim. I'm gonna take on d5, open the diagonal. I've walked into this knight f4. This was not a good move. Okay, maybe White has more compensation than originally imagined after d6. As black, I would be tempted to give up the dark square bishop, leave my light square bishop on the board, play an opposite color bishop game. Something like takes, 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 takes. And knight e4. All my pieces are good. Also, this is hanging. I could take that at some point. I'm a little slow today. I apologize. But I think black has a nice position. Oh, interesting moves coming on the board. So we had a variation similar to what I said. We had cd6, knight d6, bishop d6. But here, Archon has inserted the move bishop f6. And I think the reason for this is he saw that after queen d6, knight e4 is a really powerful move. We don't want to allow this knight to land on e4. So he's just snapping the knight up, saying, no, no, no. No knight for you. But this can't be good. Rook f6 takes. I'll take here. I have queen e4 coming. Black is much better. Black is much, much better here. Black is probably winning, to be honest. The kingside threats are so massive. The e2 knight hangs. You can't do this because of queen e4. And I think you have to play f3. Knight f4 runs into e5. Yeah, not an easy position for white. He really got in trouble with this d5 shenanigans. The tactics aren't working here. I don't know. Knight f4 here? No, again, e5. No, here it doesn't work. Just kidding. But still, this is a threat at some point. Maybe g5. It's a little loosening, but not so far-fetched. Yeah, I don't like white's position at all. I think after bishop f6, black will be doing very, very well. So we'll leave this game for now. A little bit of a turnabout. I liked white's space, but he seems to have overextended with this d5. Perhaps too early. Now black's bishops are very strong. Moving back to our second game with this open Tarrasch, where white clipped a pawn, but I do believe that black has compensation here. I think black would have more compensation if his bishop was out on g4 instead of being on d7. But I think black is not just down a pawn for nothing here. So knight b3, a6, bishop e2. That's sensible. The bishop retreats. Is the bishop better on d3? No, so this is prophylaxis against the bishop g4 idea. Just saying, I know you want to play bishop g4, but I don't want you to pin me. I don't want to be pinned. However, this does allow bishop f5, which is another nice square for the bishop. Although bishop f5 will be tempoed by a knight landing on the d4 square. So they counterbalance, shall we say. I like this bishop e2 move, though. Bishop e2, h6. h6, really? I have to say I don't like how black is handling this position. And the reason is black is down a pawn, but he needs to stir up dynamic compensation. So one idea is when the knight goes to b3 like this, there's a common idea we have to sort of harass it. So after a6, bishop e2, I'd be tempted to play a5 and just say, I want to kick you out and take my pawn. And my point is that if you ever play, for example, knight d4, then I'll take my pawn. And I'll just say, yeah, I have an isolated pawn, but I'm not so much worse. I'll play rook e8, bishop f5. Well, okay, I won't play bishop f5 right away, but... and I'm probably a little worse, but not so much. Not too bad. Also, I do have some pressure, right? This knight can come to e4, putting pressure against f2. So this is not... this is probably actually closer to equal. If you don't move the knight, well, I'm lording a4 over you, so I'm sort of enticing you to play a4 yourself. But after you play a4, you've given up this square. Maybe I go knight b4. Or maybe I go bishop f5, and I'll follow that up with knight b4, and I'm threatening to put a knight on c2. That's not very pleasant. So this a5 move is asking white to make a concession. It's asking white, hey white, how are you going to handle the threat of a4? Instead, in the game, black played h6. And quite frankly, I don't really see the point of this move. I mean, yes, it creates lift for the king, and it prevents the bishop from developing to g5, but the black bishop was already on e7. Like, is bishop g5 such a threat? I think not. So I don't really see why this is a necessary move. And as black, you do have to prove some compensation here. You're down a pawn. So unless you prove some compensation, you have a weak pawn, and you don't really have counterplay unless you get something going here. I think h6 is really missing the point of the position. And here, it's funny, after h6, white played h3. And this I also don't really understand, because you just put your bishop back on e2. Now, why do you care if the bishop goes to g4? It shouldn't really be a problem. You're well equipped to deal with the bishop being on g4. In fact, if you wanted to play this h3 move, I would think you would put the bishop on d3, where it's more actively posted. Now, there is some argument for saying leave the d file clear. That's understandable. But with the bishop on e2, why do we need this h3 move? I don't know, are we worried about knight g4, e5? The knight doesn't want to go to g4, it wants to go to e4. That's the powerful post for the knight. I just think both these moves are unnecessary. Yeah, I don't think this is the point. White should just develop. Can't possibly be wrong developing your pieces. Okay, h6, h3. I'll stop talking about this. Rook c8. So black is starting to put ideas of winning this pawn back in the air. Bishop f4. Developing the bishop to an active post. You can think about bishop e3 really cementing this pawn. The only issue with bishop e3 is you do have to be worried about this push at some inopportune moment. Although, what I'll say is bishop e3 would make this h3 move make more sense to me. Because h3 does deny knight g4 harassing this bishop. So if the bishop went to e3, I would understand h3 a little bit more. But bishop f4 and h3, I don't quite understand this combination. Maybe he was worried about knight h5. But that usually wastes a tremendous amount of time for the black player. And in this case, white can even think about this move, bishop d6, just really sticking a bishop in black's throat. And that would be very unpleasant. For instance, say knight h5, bishop d6, takes. This pawn is hanging. So, yeah, this is not at all pleasant for the black side. So okay, rook c8, bishop f4, knight h5 I don't think was played. That's not the right game. Bishop f5, Knight fd4, very sensible. Although, okay, this is not quite sacrificing the pawn, or giving the pawn back, because on knight takes, queen takes guards the pawn, so we are holding our pawn for now, I think. Although that could be a little tactical. I'm not 100% sure on that one. Okay, takes and knight takes, hitting the bishop, but now we drop back, and this pawn is quite loose. It's attacked twice, defended 0 times. So the question of the hour is, how's b4 looking? Can white play b4 and maintain the pawn? Because if black can play bishop takes c5, there's nothing wrong with black's position. And you can't... You could try this move, knight b3. And the point is, if you take this back, at least I get the bishop pair, and I'll play c3. And I have the bishop pair, at least. So, and you still have an isolated pawn. White is simply better here. So that's a move. But white can try and be even greedier. Play b4. This is a very greedy move. Just saying, I'm up a pawn. And to be honest, I don't see the problem with this move. I don't see why white will be punished for his greed in this position. Perhaps there's b6. Trying to break down this chain of pawns. With the point being, if you take here, I have this move. Yeah, this might actually be slightly problematic. Maybe b4 is not so good because of this b6 move. Yeah, and you're not really interested in taking this. But if you allow the capture, clearly black might actually even be better. So yeah, I would play more simply here. I think b4 is a little overambitious. It allows b6, which is cracking the queenside structure. I would play knight b3 and say, you can have your pawn back, but I will transfer my advantage to that of the 2 bishops, and you have a structural deficit. And that's how I would play this position as white. White is clearly better, in my opinion. And white will have long-term pressure. Bishop f3, queen d2, rook d1. This pawn is going to be suffering. I like white still. So yeah, this oh, I forgot to change my overlay. No. There we are. That's the game. Oh, something weird has happened in this game. What did they do? Oh, okay, so b4 was played. And I didn't think this was a great idea. Let me see, promote this, promote b4. So b4 was played, which I thought was not so great after b6. b6 looks like you're in a little bit of trouble as the white player, honestly. But black went knight e4. And knight e4 is probably inaccurate. I mean, now white has time to shore up the structure. I guess knight c3 is a positional threat, perhaps. But white plays, I think, very accurately here. Bishop g4 with a tempo on the rook. No, the knight used to be guarding the g4 square, now it's not. And this really takes the sting out of this knight c3 threat. There's no longer a threat associated with knight c3. So, yeah, I mean, the rook is attacked. The rook has only one square, which is the a8 square. Every other square is guarded. And black is starting to fall apart here. Because now white has time to shore up the queenside structure, with a3. And now b6 is nothing. I just take it, and I'm up 2 pawns. So I think black really missed his window to strike back. b4 was an opportunity to break down the queenside structure. It wasn't taken. After knight e4, white is probably close to winning in this position. Extra pawn, stable structure. a3 hasn't been played yet, I don't think. Yeah, so we're still waiting on white's next move. I think a3 is a good move. Just solidifying the b4 pawn. I'm trying to think of other ideas. No, I like this a3 move. I think it makes perfect sense. Perfect sense, a3. Yeah, that's what I would play. But okay. Yeah, this game is going very well for white. Up a pawn. I like this position. Black never proved his compensation. Alright, let's go back to our King's Indian Benoni thing. With Chetu versus Infernal Jumble. Oh my goodness, I have so many windows. Boom. And overlay. And let's see what happened. So last we left, black had played a6, which was not threatening b5 just yet. So I think white should play a developing move like knight f3. That would be a very normal move. Let's see what he chose. Knight ge2. So this I like a little less. And the reason is, there's a common maneuver in the Benoni where this knight ends up on the c4 square by going through f3, d2, and c4. And the point is, at some point, black needs to break down this central structure, and he usually accomplishes that by going e6 and taking twice. And therefore the central structure from white is a little bit weaker. And when that happens, the c4 square is vacated, and the knight plops down on c4 and attacks the weakness on d6. But on e2, the knight has a really hard time getting to c4. The Chetu might be playing for knight g3, e4. That's one interesting option that he has available to him, because the pawn is not on e4, which it often is in these positions. He can maneuver the knight to e4. Perhaps he was worried about this bishop g4, but this is never anything after h3. You cannot go back to g5 or h5. So black really would have to take the knight to justify this idea of going bishop g4, but all of a sudden I have an unopposed light square bishop. I have pressure. I would even think about marching the pawn and crack down this diagonal. White is much better here due to having 2 bishops and just a clear plan of attacking on the king side. And so, okay, knight ge2, not some terrible move, of course. I think just not the most active move available in the position. But it can't be so bad. I develop a piece, right? How bad can that be? That's always the question I ask myself. If you develop a piece, how bad can that be? How bad can this move be? It develops a piece. Can't be that bad. Yeah, I like this move. Sensible. Knight bd7, b3. Really? Now, this is a move that I really dislike. I don't see why we want to play the move b3. I simply don't understand why this is a useful move. Because I see the thought process. The thought process is knight e5 is going to fork these. So he plays b3 with the intention of meeting knight e5 with bishop c2, and this pawn is protected. But what I would say is that say I play a stupid move, knight e5, taking this, and this structural change must be good for white. This change in the structure cannot be bad for white because white goes knight g3, and as long as white has control over the e4 square, white is doing very well. Although maybe this is actually a little bit annoying with the idea of going f5. But I have a very hard time believing in this structure for black. I would be very surprised if black is doing well in this structure. Maybe white can even go e4 here and just say no f5. And just play with this strong center and sort of the destroyed pawn and claim that this bishop is not a very good piece. Simply because it's blocked in by its own pawns. Yeah, this b3 move, it's really not something I want to play. But okay, say I want to avoid I want to avoid this knight e5. There are other ways to avoid this. I can go knight g3, and then after knight e5, I have bishop e2 available to me. I can go knight c1, and then after knight e5, I go bishop e2, and the knight can come to d3. That's fine. But we also see that, remember I wanted to play knight f3, right? With the knight on f3, this knight e5 is not a problem. I just go bishop e2, and I'm like, what's the problem? But with the knight on e2, it's actually sort of stepping on the toes of this bishop. It's not really where it wants to be, and as such, white felt compelled to make this sort of awkward move. And I haven't really touched on why I dislike this move so much. This diagonal is very dangerous in the Benoni. Oftentimes white runs into problems on this diagonal, and if you weaken that diagonal, it becomes even more dangerous. Oftentimes white wants to play a4, but then this pawn all of a sudden has become a huge weakness. So this b3 move I don't like. b3, queen a5. Yeah, immediately taking advantage of the weakened diagonal. Immediately jumping on that. I think that's correct. Rook c1. There's tactics in the air. Maybe I go b5 here. Can I get away with that? I think I can. Black can probably get away with b5 here because this is pinned. It also had, like, the c pawn is responsible for the d pawn because of the pinned knight. So black can probably play b5 here very easily. Let's see if he did. He did. That's a good move. So b5, this is very unpleasant, because black gets the queenside space gain that he wants, and you can't take this because you have issues with your center, and you have issues with this diagonal. I think white needs to castle here, probably. b5 castles, that's correct. Okay, now that the knight is unpinned, white is ready to take on b5. And black played b4. So black is claiming the win of a pawn. But that might be a dangerous claim. So b4, the knight moves, a2 hangs. But in these lines where a2 hangs, rook a1 must be worrying. But okay. b4. Yeah, this is good for black. Black is accelerating his queenside play, where white has not really stirred anything up on the king side yet. So knight a4 was played, stopping the attack on the pawn. But now simply knight b6, good move, trading off this piece that's blockading play on the queen side. Takes, and black has the clearest of all plans. A5, A4, take, and there will be a weakness. Black will use the A file and pressure the queen side. Very, very simple play from black. Okay, E4. Yeah, that's very sensible. Starting play in the center. And knight H5. This is an interesting move. My first instinct was that it was bad, but I'm not sure that's true actually. Because say I go A5, white has the option of playing E5 here and creating some issues for black in the center. I don't think you want to take this pawn and create a huge weakness on E7, so you'd have to play a move like knight D7, takes, and all of a sudden white has a nice weakness to play against. Knight G3, the knight comes E4, puts pressure on D6, and black's pieces look a little sad. So I actually like this knight H5 move. Securing this square, the bishop is obliged to step back. Maybe the bishop will go to G5 actually, and just throw a punch. That's probably best. Because after bishop G5, black maybe has to spend some time addressing the hit to his center. Bishop G5, something like rook E8. But white is not ready to play E5 yet, and white will need to find a way to organize the E5 break, whereas black is very ready to play A5, A4. Somewhat double-edged. Yeah, this is an interesting game, an interesting position. Knight H5 is inventive. I like it. Alright. That was Chetu Jumble. We're up to date with them. We're just going to go around the horn again. We know the drill. Back to our friend Archon versus PM Your Pepes. I really liked Pepe's position when last we saw. We left it up with bishop takes f6, and we just thought all the tactics were working in black's favor because white overextended in the center and tried to initiate tactics when he probably wasn't quite ready to do so. Archon had just played this move, bishop takes f6, fearing excuse me, fearing a knight e4 landing on the board. But I thought that white was just kind of in trouble here. Oh, we have some tactics. So bishop takes f6. My line that I gave was rook f6, queen d6, queen c4. And I thought black was doing quite well here. Not Archon, PM Your Pepes went for the shot bishop g2. And his idea, if I understand it, is if the king captures bishop, he wants to go queen c6 check, guarding his bishop with tempo. The king goes back, and rook f6. And actually there's really a strong threat incoming of rook g6 or even rook h6 perhaps. So this looks very, very lost. But after bishop g2, taking the bishop is not mandatory. For instance, perhaps black this is complicated. So black has two pieces hanging. The problem is this was an important pawn, and the white king is gonna have some big time issues here. I was looking at lines with like rook d1, just getting the rook out of the way and maintaining my threats, but then you know, something like rook takes, and that's bad news. Like there start to arrive mating ideas. Although here there's knight f4 maybe, which is not so clear. So yeah. Maybe just like takes and queen b7 or something like this. That is not so clear. This bishop g2 is not so clear, I don't think, unless I'm missing something. Rook fd1. It's very possible I'm missing something. This is very sharp. Okay, say I go queen b7 right away, and I'm being a little bit nefarious in that I'm hoping to land some mate here quite quickly. For instance, queen takes. I'm trying to throw a mate on the g2 square. The problem is, if bishop h1, for instance, there is knight f4 guarding g2, and I'm saying no mate today. No mate for you. And one of my next moves will be queen d7 with not a clear position whatsoever. Let's see what else. So rook fd1 looks somewhat promising for white here. I was also toying with this idea, bishop g7. But I think black will actually win the desperado battle here because he's going to tempo the queen here. Very unfortunate. Yeah, so this is not good. This is not good at all. Although, let me count material here. It takes... Yeah, that doesn't work. That's an exchange. So I think after bishop g2, this rook fd1 is the most promising. And I'm not sure what exactly black is doing here. This looks somewhat promising for the white player. Like, I don't think white is winning, but I think white is avoiding total disaster here. Unless I'm missing some clear issue. Which is possible. I've been known to miss clear issues before. So let's see what happened. Okay, Archon accepted the piece. But this is the thing. In these sorts of positions, you gotta analyze everything. Because this is super sharp. There are 3 pieces on pre, right? So king takes g2 is obvious. It's sort of an obvious move to check. He just sacked a bishop. But once I see queen c6, I don't have to play king g1. I could play f3. But either way, rook f6 is coming. The rook is coming into the game with tempo. f4 might be coming. e5 might be coming. I really don't like this position. And instead of accepting my fate with king g2, I would look for alternatives. And this seems like a very playable alternative. Maybe there's bishop f3. Now, bishop f3 might be unpleasant. I'm trying to prevent you from taking this piece. Although, even this is not so clear. I'm a tricky man. That's what I'm talking about. When you're worse like this, you gotta look for sort of bailouts along these lines. Because if black takes the rook, I'll take your rook. Position is not awful. Although the bishop is sort of trapped. For instance, takes, I don't know, bishop f3, just maintaining pressure on this diagonal. You actually can't take this pawn yet. You probably have to go like bishop e7. Is white holding this together? Queen c4 maybe? I don't know. I don't know if white is holding this together. White isn't immediately lost. That's a plus. Yeah, this bishop f3 move is a little bit annoying. But maybe not lost. Perhaps not lost. Anyway, king g2, queen c6 was played. f3. Wait, did I miss a move? I'm sorry, I did miss a move. Oh my goodness, what a disaster. After bishop takes g2, rook fd1 was played. And rook takes f6 was played. I actually had this variation. This is my fault. I was chastising Archon, and he actually played the move I suggested. Terrible of me. And here, king g2 was played, which I dislike. I think taking here makes a lot of sense. It looks a little scary because it looks like this is problematic, but there is knight f4. And I think white actually holds the fort here somehow. And the other point is after queen d6, say bishop f3, there's king f1. Although, no, but here queen d3 doesn't lose, but you're down 2 pawns. That's a lot of pawns. Yeah, this is a difficult position. I agree. Maybe you can't take on d6. Queen d6, bishop f3 is very unpleasant. Yeah. Okay. So Archon takes on g2. And we've got the check defending our bishop, although the bishop still hangs. But there's issues with queen h1 mate. That's problematic. So f3, because if you go king g1, there's rook g6. You can't go to f1 because of queen h1, so you have to go knight g3, but then I think you just take. And here, black is fine. Black's up a pawn, at least. So f3 was tried, rook g6, I assume king f2. Let's see. King f2 is played. Now the bishop really is attacked. What's going on here? Is this... What's this? Is it a pawn? Can I take it? Bishop e5 was tried. With a tempo on the rook, that makes sense. Another interesting move I'm noticing here is perhaps e5 is playable. And the point is you're opening the defense of the rook. And if the queen is so brazen as to take on f5, you have real problems here. on the f3 square. This is probably actually lost for white. Like, immediately lost. Yeah, this looks very, very unpleasant. I think the only move is... okay, you can go queen h5 or h3. But then, like, rook h6, like, this is... Ooh, I don't want to play this at all. So, yeah, this is very unpleasant. e5 is interesting. But okay, bishop e5, tempo the rook. Bishop e5. Oh, no, that's not the right game. Rook c1, rook d8. Guarding the pawn, very sensible. Knight d4. This pawn always looks takeable to me, but what do I know? Queen b7. Yeah, not taking is probably right. I like this queen b7 move. The white king is unsafe. And rook g1. White says, let's trade. I don't like my position. I don't like what's happening here. I've been wanting to take this pawn for a lot of moves right now. I like pawns. Maybe he's worried about f4. But f4, so like, okay, not this move, but rook c1, like, okay, not this move. Here, like, take the pawn, right? Maybe just takes. Yeah, that's reasonable. I guess if you take the pawn, you're losing d7. Okay, that's a good reason not to take the pawn. Rook, the pawn's protected. Now the queen's hit. Okay, now I want to take this pawn. Right? Let's take this. And f4. f4 is, well, okay, the rook. So let's trade rooks, right? And go f4. The problem is you have a hard time tracking this piece. I guess you have rook h1. No, you can't go rook h1. Ah, there's a shot. There's this. Using the pin. Okay, not so clear. There's work to be done here. Black should be winning, but still work to be done after rook g1. White is not dead lost by any means. Interesting. Very interesting position. Okay, moving on. Fisher56 versus Arsenal fan Richie. What was happening in this game? I need to remind myself. Oh yeah, white was up a pawn and doing really, really well, and I was happy with his position. When you have this position, white's just doing very well. Got an extra pawn. Got a blockade on the d pawn. Just a good position. Let's see what happened. Oh my god, where are we? b4, knight e4, bishop g4, rook a8, f3. Not my first instinct. And the reason is f3 is really creating some Swiss cheese over here around the king. Like, is this knight such a problem that I need to play f3? Now my bishop is really bad, and I've weakened my king on the dark squares very considerably. f3 was not a move I was considering, and I don't think a very good move. Knight g5. That's fine. The knight might land on e6, which would be a good square for the knight. Also, you know, maybe I'll sack at some point if I need to. F3, knight g5. Not that game. Oh god, the game just ended. Okay, let's see how this game ended. F3, knight g5, h4. Ooh. Okay, so maybe this was just a bad move. The point is, if the knight lands on e6 immediately, you're losing a lot of material because of takes and fork. So h4, black tried f5. Now we're in Sharpeville. So there's a lot of tactics here. There's a lot of tactics here. But you're just losing material. I take this. You have to take, well, okay, this is complicated. I want to go 96. So I'll take this. And I'll go 96 and defend my bishop. Yeah, you're screwed here. And so black is just lost. Very lost. F5 is not saving this whatsoever. Let's see how the complications were handled. HG5. Oh, interesting. So HG5. Just saying, all your bishops are hanging. But here I would go 96 anyway and say, I want your queen. And I don't care about my bishops. Yeah, 96 has to be good. I think, what was played? Yeah, 96, good. So 96, queen d7. Knight f8, rook f8. So we win an exchange. And probably a pawn here somewhere. Knight f8, rook f8. Bishop f5, bishop f5, bishop e5. So let's count the bodies. White's up a pawn and an exchange. That's clearly winning, especially because black's structure is so shattered. That makes winning all that much easier. Bishop e5, rook c8, c4. Wait, rook c8 or rook e8? I'm sorry, I'm just reading the rook c8. c4, that's a good move. c4 is a good move. Just blowing up the center. Of course, a trade of queens is simply unacceptable. For instance, I mean, this isn't playable. So this is just clearly unacceptable. So instead, we saw c4. Oh god, where is it? g4, queen d5, c d5, and black resigned here, which is a reasonable resignation. He's down 2 pawns and an exchange. d6 is coming on the board. This is just unplayable. So I totally understand the resignation here. A nice game from the white player. He won a pawn early. Here I think black has serious compensation for the pawn. After knight b3, black is not immediately winning the pawn. But I thought black really didn't play actively here. First off, he went h6. That's clearly not active. I want to go a5 and harass your knight. a5 seems like a very active move to me. But okay, h6, h3, rook c8 makes sense. All of this makes sense. And here, the pawn is hanging, your bishop is struck, so you go bishop h7, and white goes b4, and if you just let white hang onto this pawn forever, you're screwed. So, black went knight e4, which actually doesn't help tackle this pawn. He's thinking he has knight c3, and that this is a tempo move, but bishop g4 actually tempos the black rook, and here it also steps out of the threat of knight c3. So I was looking at this move b6, breaking down the queenside structure. This is very, very common when a player takes on c5 or c4. You try and break it down with like a5, b6. Here a5 isn't much because you go a3. But b6 looks very strong. I mean, black just appears to regain the pawn in all lines. So I thought this was black's really only try to remain in the game. After knight e4, bishop g4, the knight ends up just being very misplaced. Knight g5 is a blunder. Walking into h4, a good move. Probably black has to go knight f6 here. Honestly, I wonder why he didn't go knight f6. It appears to be problematic for this bishop. Although bishop f5 is a little annoying here, I guess. But I don't know, b6, is this so unplayable? It shouldn't be so unplayable. But okay, after knight g5, he's just lost h4, and you're losing material. So a good game from Fisher56. And who is the other player exactly? Arsenal fan Richie just need to play more actively with his position. Sorry guys, I haven't been catching the chat very much, just because I'm managing a lot of windows here, and it's difficult for me to input the moves from the games and do commentary and monitor chat. I do my best, but I'm seeing some comments that I just missed, and unfortunately, when I see them late, it doesn't really help because I don't know exactly what positions you're talking about. So that's my bad. I can't answer the question. Have I already picked games that I want to review from last season? There have been games that were picked. I don't actually pick them. But the mod team for the Lichess4545 League picked the games. And the first review, I'm going to be doing videos on my YouTube channel. And the first ones should be coming out next week, so I'm very excited about that. I'm playing a tournament this weekend, but after that, I have next week off, so I'll be doing some videos. Anyway, that was that game. Let's check in on our King's Indian Benoni with Infernal Jumble and Chateau. Echo. I liked black positioned here, but although I thought it was still quite double-edged after this knight h5 move. Let's see how play proceeded. Bishop g5, as I expected. And so I was playing rook e8 here. Black found an interesting move, queen a7. And his point is he wants to play on the a file. It's pretty clear. And he's also guarding the e7 pawn. And normally I'd be like, well, this isn't such a great move because you don't really want to lead with your queen on the open file, because if it's contested with a rook, that's problematic for you. But here it's actually works out pretty well for black. And the reason is this bishop does such a good job on this diagonal that white can never really place a rook on the a file without losing material. So, and that does go back to that move I slightly criticized white for earlier, this b3 move. If the pawn was on b2, it would still be possible to put a rook on a1, and black would not really have a hook to latch onto with a5, a4. So black should be doing very, very well here, I think, unless I'm misevaluating the position. So queen a7, f4, a5. Are we ready to go e5? We're not ready to go e5 yet. We can't go e5 yet. We have to find a way to prepare that a little bit more. f5. I'm confused. So okay, f5 is not a bad move, I don't think. Part of the point is if you take this, you end up with a very loose knight on h5, which is a tactical liability. So, for instance, takes like knight c3 is possible. Although there is bishop takes. But, I mean, this is very unclear. This is not what you want as black when you are trying to play on the queen side. Your heavy pieces are out of play. White is probably actually just mating. So taking on f5, very ill-advised. But the other thing I'm wondering is, does white have a threat? And currently my answer to that question is no. White has no threat. Taking does not really help white so much here. I think after takes, h takes, black is... there's currently no threat. But black is having some issues here. In that he'd like to develop this bishop, probably to d7. But his e-pawn is hanging in that variation. So I don't know. I would probably play a4 here. And perhaps he was worried about takes on a4, where you probably don't want to recapture because of bishop takes e7. Your structure really falls apart here. But after b takes a4, I'm always very happy because I'll simply win this pawn back whenever I feel like it. I don't have to take it right now. And I'll just play some slow move to help me take my pawn back, rook e8, and then I'll take on a4 later. But black played the move rook e8 here, which is probably fine, but it makes me wonder, if we were going to play rook e8, why not just play it here and sort of save this tempo of queen a7? It feels like a lost move here almost. And also, I'm not sure I want to be playing this rook e8 move when white has just shown the intention of opening the f-file. This could be a potentially weak square, and perhaps I don't want to be moving my rook away from the defense of this square when white is going to open the f-file. That is potentially dangerous. So it feels like black's play isn't quite consistent here. I would have played either queen a7 or rook e8, but probably not both, because it feels like black has lost a move here. But okay, rook e8. It's well-intentioned. He wants to get on with a4. But yeah, now after takes, queen d2, white with the ever so subtle idea of going bishop h6. Black's king side does look a little exposed. What I'll say, one thing that black has going for him is that, say like a4, right? Bishop h6, I can always dodge because my rook has scooted over a file, so that is a benefit. I'm very worried about this. I'm like super worried that's a major threat in this position. Bishop f6. e5. This is a problem. This is a big problem. My main point is this move. Well, are you holding this together somehow? Maybe you just hold this together. Okay, maybe... I'm very worried about rook takes f7 in these positions. This looks like the sort of thing that should just make your position fall apart. But maybe it doesn't. Maybe you have it all covered for now. Maybe I have to prepare that rook takes f7 move. Maybe it worked better with the bishop on g5. No, but then you just go back, right? And then I really have nothing. Yeah, okay, maybe it just doesn't work great. I'm worried though. I'm worried for the black player. That might be a threat. And a4 on the board. I expect bishop h6. Maybe black can go bishop f6 and just say none of that silliness. Although, no, that's, I'm sorry, that's hanging. That's ridiculous. Yeah, I think black has it all covered for now. Bishop h6, bishop f6 perhaps, and black is okay, I believe. And he is getting his queenside play underway. Queen a2 will likely be offering an exchange of the queens. Yeah, this should be good for black. No mate. All right, back to Archon and PM your Pepes. In this game, the white player Archon was in a little bit of trouble, down a pawn in a perhaps slightly suspicious position. Or should I say slightly suspicious? In a very suspicious position. Bishop h2 was not played. We left the game at rook g1. And let's see what has happened. The game saw... Ooh, interesting. We're in a queen ending all of a sudden. That actually bodes somewhat well for Archon. Rook g1, king g1, and you're not winning a pawn here, because if you take the knight, trying to remove the defender of f3, there's pawn takes, discovering a defender of f3. So maybe this rook exchange wasn't so wonderful for black. But if you're not exchanging rooks, I don't know exactly what you are doing. I wonder if rook h6 is a move, going after that pawn. That doesn't seem so dumb. Rook g2, although white will double with pressure. And if you take, you enter the same semi-problematic lines here. Or maybe not even f4, there's again this idea. So, yeah. Not so clear. Here black is up a pawn, he's always better, but it looks like there's a lot of work to be done in this position. So rook g1, rook takes g1, king takes g1, rook c8. Yep, that's sensible. I'm trying to activate this piece. It's a very bad piece. As black, I would be interested in gunning for f4, actually. In fact, I think it's playable right away. No, I keep blundering this. But here, am I blundering it? Is always a question. No, I'm blundering it. This is just a blunder. Oh, I want this to work. No, you trade queens. It doesn't work at all. Okay. And so f4 I can't quite make work, but what if I go rook f8? Right? And I say, I'm gonna play f4. And just try and do bad things to you on the dark squares. Is that so unreasonable? Or maybe On a good day, I'll even lift my other rook. That's not so far-fetched, to lift my other rook. Anyway, rook c8. Just, he's dodging this tactic, basically. Is my understanding. Okay, rook c8, f4, bishop takes d4, queen takes d4. Maintaining a somewhat healthy structure. This pawn's a little sad, but hey, you gotta do something. I don't know. Did we have to take that? Like, these pawns are all on dark. Like, I'd be very tempted to keep these pieces on. These pawns are fixed on dark squares. I kind of want my dark square bishop on. Yeah, I wouldn't have taken that, I don't think. Like, you're trading pieces, but what are you trading pieces into? Rook and queen endings. Rook and queen endings, it's not so clear. Like, those aren't the easiest thing in the world to win. I would rather have more pieces on, especially when the pawns are fixed. Like, if I get into a bishop versus knight ending, it's probably very good for black, because these pawns are so weak. It's very difficult to push e4. No, okay. He took these rook and queen endings. I'm not so sure about. Where are we? F4, bishop takes d5. d5. Okay, there's a pin. That's true. c5, pushing past. This is guarded enough to keep a healthy structure. When you're approaching an ending, it's very important that you keep a healthy structure. King f7. Still saying you're pinned, you can't take. That's sensible. Here I would go king f2 and maybe swing the rook. But okay, let's see what happened. King f7. Whoa, what happened? Oh, wrong game. No wonder I was confused. King f7, b5. b5. Alright, so what this move does is it just insists that black takes this pawn, or else c6 is coming like a ton of breaks. So black obliged and took the pawn. Rook takes. And were my rooks exchanged here? My rooks were exchanged here. And queen b6. So this is a nice move. It's interesting. White is not so much worse in this ending because he actually has a majority of his own. And that majority is very, very dangerous. Black has to be very careful that this doesn't just turn into a passed pawn over here. But queen b6 is a nice move because white could actually think about entering the pawn ending, except when he does, this pawn all of a sudden freezes the majority. It makes it very difficult for white to get his queenside majority going. Whereas if the pawn were to stay on a7, white would actually have probably okay chances in this king and pawn ending. The king would come into e5 while the black king was dealing with the queen side. So white really can't think of taking here. Let's see what he did. Queen b6, queen d4. And white does something very cagey. He says, no, you take me. And his point is, if you chop on b5, I'll grab this with check. I have a passed pawn that gives me very, very good drawing chances. Black will always have a perpetual, but white probably shouldn't lose this position. So queen b d4, queen a5. Let me promote this. A4, and here the white queen is nicely centralized. She's guarding everything, but one thing that black has done is black has made it very difficult for white to advance the majority. However, black will have a very hard time advancing his majority without the aid of the queen, which is a little bit stuck over here. So I think this is closer to a draw than a win, in my opinion. Okay, queen a5, a4, h6, king f2, g5. Oh no, not that. g5, fg5, hg5, king e2. King e2, controlling this square so the queen has a little bit more freedom with where she goes. King e2, g4, queen h8. Looking for a perpetual. This idea of queen h7, h6, saying there might be a perpetual in here. And after queen b6, I wonder if there is. So queen h7, if the king goes up, at the very least there's queen h8 back. You can never go here because of queen g7. And that's just perpetual on g7 and h7. So the king can never go to g5. King f6, queen h8. Yeah, that's bust. I think black's claim might be that my king will be safe on the queen side. Maybe the king will march to b7 and the queen guards all the weaknesses. Perhaps white can just play some waiting move, like king d3. One problem that white has is that the king and pawn is likely no longer drawn. For example, queen d4. I think black can take now. He has to play king e7, however, because a5, b6 comes quite quickly. Maybe this is not lost, actually. There is an issue here for white, and that is he can never take this pawn, because when he takes the pawn, f4 lands. So this is a lost king and pawn now. Okay. So queen d4 is not possible. The king and pawn is lost. I might wait. King d3, your move. What are you going to do? Make some progress. Show me how you plan to make progress. My queen is very powerful. I think the king will have to run to the queen side at some point. But I'm not sure he will be safe there. I think white should be okay, he just has to wait. Queen h7, king f6. I mean, at the very least, white can go queen h8, even queen h6. I would go queen h8, just say, what are you doing? You can't step up here. That's an instant perpetual. So queen h8, the only try to win is king e7. But then queen g7, I don't know. I think white is fine. Anyway, let's go back to our King's Indian, because this game will be a little boring for a while, I think, while they work out the queen ending. So let's go back to our game between Shettu and Infernal Jumble, where I think black is doing quite well after this a4 move. I was trying to make stuff with rook takes f7 work. It's not quite working. There is an idea. Oh, now I'm having a devious idea. And my devious idea is to trade knights. For example, knight f4. And this is a little bit annoying for you, because now you sort of have to play rook f8. And now bishop h6. And this is scary. Now it's scary. All of a sudden I don't like this. Ooh, knight f4 is a good move. I initially didn't want to trade off this knight because it looks so silly on h5. But it actually is guarding some important squares that white would like access to. So playing knight f4 and sort of asking black what does he want to do with this knight. Maybe he goes knight f6. But this is complex in its own right, e5. And the position is very sharp again. I don't think you can allow white to take this. That would be too weakening to the king's side. Then bishop h6 and queen g5 come. Very, very unpleasant. But I like knight f6, not allowing white into the king's side. And black is definitely fighting. Still a complicated game here. So let's see what happened in the actual game. f4, a5, f5, rook e8, f, queen d2, a4, bishop h6, as I expected. Bishop e5. That was maybe better than the move that I was playing, which was bishop f6. Just taking some ownership over the f4 square. Yeah, this is a good move. I don't know, is rook f7 working? I always wonder. Rook f7, queen g5. No, you just go knight f6, right? I don't know, I have knight f4 coming. That's a little unpleasant. Knight f4. And e5? No, but you should be able to hold it all together always with rook g8. Rook g8 always holds it together. Yeah, this doesn't work. I want it to work, it never works. So bishop e5. Yeah, that's a good move. Queen g5. Oops. Wait. Bishop e5. Queen g5. Here black went bishop f6. Yeah. It feels a little weird, but it actually sort of wins a tempo. Because now the queen has to go back somewhere odd. Like e3 probably. Well, not e3, actually. That's playing with fire. So maybe queen d2. And the bishop sort of got... That was sort of a free move for black to put the bishop on f6. Okay, bishop f6 is fine. Queen d2, ab3, ab3. Queen a2. Yeah, black is doing very well here. And bishop c2, guarding his pawn. The one issue that black has is that this piece has been unable to find a way into the game. The only thing wrong with this position. I might be tempted to go bishop g4 here and just trade it for the knight and say I need to get this piece out. But the thing is, this piece will be so good in an endgame because white has put all his pawns on white. The other thing that black could consider doing is going bishop d7. And my idea is to go bishop a4, with the point being if you take, b3 comes crashing on down. And that should be good for black. Yeah, I like this idea. Bishop d7 to a4, putting pressure on this pawn. Not easy to defend that pawn. You probably have to go rook b1. Rook b1, bishop b2. All my pieces make so much sense. I like this a lot for black. Black's doing very well. Yeah, black has handled this game quite well, playing on getting his queenside play going, taking advantage of white's move b3, which was maybe not accurate. And yeah, I think white is, or black is strategically winning here. I don't see white's attack crashing through. I think knight f4 needs to be played at some point to trade this off. Try and get some play on the f file where black is weakest. Or try and crack e5 at some point. Queen b2 immediately. So this was not, oh sorry, not bishop d7. This is not what I was expecting. Ah, okay, so the idea is to go rook a2. But I think you're not quite in time for this. For instance, say I go rook b1. You probably have nothing better than to go back. I'm noticing another idea, actually. If instead of queen b2, rook a3, I am threatening to play rook takes b3, which is something I hadn't noticed earlier. So this is a little tricky here. Yeah, not so easy, not so easy. But I like bishop d7 the best. I really want to get my last piece playing. He's really not doing anything. But okay, queen b2. I think white should go rook b1. I don't think the queen wants to come into e5. She just looks vulnerable there. Queen e5, knight f4. The queen will be harassed. Excuse me. So queen b2, knight f4 right away. Ah, and interesting. You no longer have the option of going knight f6. But I could go knight g7. Ah, or black can go bishop c3 here. So bishop c3. You can't go queen e3, that loses the queen. Also can't go queen f2, loses the queen. So the thing about this move that's so annoying is you actually have to leave the defense of the knight. And now I can take, and you can play like rook takes, but that's not really what you wanted here. And now I come in guns ablaze in rook a2. Although, the more I look, the more I'm not so happy. But this rook is tied, right? So, queen f3, bishop f6. I'm noticing just a little after that my queen is doing God's work over here. I'm not sure. This is unclear, but I mean, If there's no mate, black just wins. Very sharp, very sharp. I don't think queen b2 was best, but it might still be fine. This knight f4 move from white I've been calling for a long time. I think white needs to trade this piece off in order to have any attack. Ah, yes. After thank you for pointing that out. Who is that in chat? Fail alarm. Who better than to point out this mistake than fail alarm? Fail alarm points out that after knight takes f4, rook takes f4, this is a free rook. Whoops. So in this event, the bishop must take. But if the bishop takes, then black is doing well. White has no attack. And black has time to just develop all his pieces and have a good game. Yeah, this is good for black. Here we're just waiting on moves for both games. I'm gonna get some water. I will be right back, and hopefully we'll have some input in the next 2 minutes or so. So I will be back. Oh. Alright, we're gonna quickly pop over into our queen ending, see if the black player is making any progress in the queen ending. Ooh, there's been a large change in this queen ending. The black player with over 30 minutes, which I'm going to chastise him for. Even in something like a queen ending, take your time. Queen endings are incredibly complicated. We shouldn't be moving so quickly. So we left off after queen h7, king f6, queen h4. That was not a move I had looked at. So this is an interesting idea. He's preventing the king from walking to e7. So he's preventing the king from walking towards the queen side, which is interesting. And his other point is that if the king tucks into e5, he'll simply check on g3 and then check back on h4. And so really well, I say the only move is to go to f7, but on king g6, there is no check. There's no check on the move king g6, which is perhaps one reason why queen h4 isn't the most accurate thing in the world. Oh! Archon is lost here. Black is winning in the game. Let me quickly run through what happened here. So I'm going to disrupt the live board for just 1 second. Queen e7. Interesting. a6. This is a big decision, changing the structure on the queen side. But his point is that if takes, well, I wonder about this. If takes, I thought he was going to go check and scoop, but h7, that pawn's going real quick. So after a6 takes, he takes with check here, is his point. And he's going to, well, he can't take a4 yet. I don't know, this might be good for white, actually, or playable for white. Right, because after it takes on a4, it takes e6. That must be a draw. The black king is way open. So, excuse me. Here, white at least has a passed pawn to work with. I don't know what black will play here, to be honest. Say some centralizing move, right? Here, white. Well, okay. Well, I hung e6, so I can't do that. This looks very playable. I would take on a6. I see no reason not to. Because if check, king anywhere, you can't take h2. This is hanging. a7 is in the air. Like, this is too much. So after takes a6, black has to take on a6, and then king f2, safest square. You can't take a4. That's a draw. Queen e6, queen d5. Material's even. So yeah, I think this is a missed opportunity to enter a more drawn position. Instead, Archon played queen e8 check, which the problem with this is this allows the black king to protect the e6 pawn, which makes the lines more problematic. Let me find the line exactly. Yeah, so after king f6, now the black king is actually guarding the pawn, so you can no longer play these ba6 lines, because the queen can take on a4 and just have a good game. Queen f8 check. I mean, this shouldn't lose, really. Well, the problem here is you can't stop the king from going to d6. After king e5, you have no good check. Yeah, this has gone clearly wrong, and you have to take on a6 immediately. Because now the king pops out on d6 is quite safe here, actually. It's not easy to give a lot of checks in this position. After queen f8, the king will mosey on over. And eventually, black will block a queen check. So, maybe it's still drawn, but life is hard. Life is much harder than it needed to be. Queen f8. King d7, queen f7. King c8. Okay, again, now I would take, right? As soon as the king stops defending the e6 pawn, it's time to take. Although, this variation might be worse. Because all of a sudden a7, no, a7 still wins. So this is fine. You can play this. After queen f7, king c8, king's not defending the e6 pawn, I take. And I'm ready to guard my pawn with queen e8 check. And with my a4 pawn on the board, I should be drawing, because this is a passed pawn that black always has to worry about. And if you're not careful, I'll sneak my king in here, grab a lot of things, while you're worried about my a4 pawn. But okay, it looks like Archon wanted to just give perpetual immediately. But if you're going to do this, like, it better be perpetual, right? I guess you can always go back to taking on a6. King b8. Yeah, but the king has gone where he wants to. Now the king is safe. Or safer. Here I would still take, but it's not what you want. It's not what you want anymore. But you have to take. You can't let him break down the structure and take both pawns. Yeah, and now he's in trouble. Queen d7. queen b7. You grab this pawn, but he's going to take all these pawns. I don't know, maybe this is still drawn. Let's see. Queen e6. ab5. So, in the game, I think Archon played queen f5. Yeah. Problem with queen f5 is it's all about the passed pawns in these queen endings, right? So, we can't let black get a passed pawn. That's going to be brutal. So you gotta snap off the passed pawn. You can't let that happen. Check, king f2, check, king g3, and here, black actually has no check. That's a lie. Black has queen b8 check. But queen b8 check, I just go back. And black, I think, has a very hard time guarding both pawns. Which leads me to believe this should be a draw-ish queen ending. But it's never so clear. For instance, say I go after this. Yeah, this is a little unpleasant. Because black's pawns are quite advanced. It's a little bit difficult to make progress as white here. This might be lost already. I think white had to maintain one of his queenside pawns, because that was sort of his trump in this ending. Black had a ton of pawns over here, but white had a majority. So as white, I would have tried to maintain a passed pawn over here for counterplay. Because here white doesn't really have any counterplay. White has trouble taking these pawns, because it takes with check, this starts running, and the pawn is so advanced, it's very difficult to stop. This must be lost. So, okay, Archon tried queen takes f5, but now there's this guy. And he's a big problem. Takes on g4. Yeah, a3. And here, queen a4 check is clearly a mistake, but there's nothing you can do. The pawn just queens, really, because this is check, and the game's over. The queens are forced off, and this pawn runs, but the white king is on time. An interesting game. White really got in trouble early on in this game. He overextended with this d5 move. Whenever your pawns move forward, you leave squares behind. So this leaves behind the e5 square. And that gives white a lots of trouble on this d3 bishop. Yeah, and you can't really retreat the bishop because the pawn is hanging, so white is just overextended here. And all of white's problems really came from this, because here the bishops are just really strong. Bishop g2 is probably unnecessary, but it's cute, using this intermediate check to guard the bishop. But even rook f6 should just be winning for black. Yeah, so yeah, just a mistake in the opening, and he really got ground down because of it. Maybe he had drawing chances later on, but not so clear. Anyway, Archon, I believe, has just offered to come on the show. Oops. Yes, so let us get Archon on the show. I have to go into Discord. Archon, if you're in chat, go in Discord. Discord link. Let me. Oh god. Fail alarm. This is the Lichess4545 Team League, which means that every week there's 6 boards per team. A bunch of teams play each other, and they're formed early in the season, and then I'm not explaining this very well. They're teams. They play each other every week. Yes, thank you, Oddskill. That was much better. Archon, how do I message you? We're seeing how technologically inept I am. Okay, we're just gonna take the whisper. Oh, crap. I whispered you, Archon. Let's make you a contributor as well. Archon, your mic is muted, just FYI. Alright, while we work on getting this sorted out, I'm going to take a look at Chateau versus Infernal Jumble, where some interesting game is still happening. So this game, we had just seen...
Hey, I'm here.
Ah, you made it. Great. Never mind. We'll check on this in a little bit. So I made you a contributor in the study, so you can move stuff, right? Oh my god, I forgot I have to talk in Discord. Now I'm confused. Okay. You're a contributor of the study, right?
Yes, I'm a contributor on the study.
Great. So, walk us through the game. What happened?
Sorry, I had to mute the stream.
Yeah,
I was getting confused. Okay, so he plays a weird Dutch variant that I don't know, so I tried to come up with a position that looked like it would go well, and then I got over-aggressive, as I just heard you mentioning.
So, you know you don't have to enter, like, mainline Dutch here with, like, d4.
Yes, I know, but I've went through his games, and what he does against the English I don't like, and I liked what he did against the d4-c4 pair.
Okay, that makes sense. So, we get some Dutch. I was mentioning how the Grandmaster move is g3 here. But I actually like these positions with e3. I like what you did, actually. I think it's very easy for white to play.
Yeah, that was how I felt, too. I looked at both of those lines when I was doing my pregame analysis, and I just felt like I wound up with much more comfortable positions with e3 rather than g3.
Yeah, the thing about g3 is you have to be a little bit more worried about, like, getting checkmated in those positions.
Yeah, I was worried about the h5, h4 cracking the kingside open after g3, giving him basically a target.
Yeah. So this is a perfectly playable way to play. After bishop b4, I criticized you a little bit. I think you want to play queen c2 first to prevent bishop takes c3, doubling your pawns, which is sort of a Nimzo-esque plan.
Yeah, I looked at that line, and he doesn't play it generally. He doesn't usually sack the bishop, and so I felt like I'd rather get the knight defending the bishop, and I thought I'd be able to handle the doubled pawns if it came up, but obviously, yeah, it's not ideal.
So it is more targeted preparation, which is something you can do in these leagues where you have access to people's games. You can be like, he's probably not going to play bishop takes c3.
Exactly.
So this makes sense. Bishop d3, b6, 92, bishop b7. All of this made a whole lot of sense to me. a3, yeah, that makes sense. And here, b4 is totally playable. It's by no means a bad move. Did you ever consider this alternative plan with f3?
Not very much. I saw it as a move in the Explorer, and I looked at it really quickly, but I didn't give it a whole lot of thought. I was really worried about the g5, g4. With these f5 Dutch positions, giving any sort of a target on the king side, it's really easy to get ripped open, and I was just worried about that, so I decided to go with more of a standard queenside push.
So what I'll say is I really like these positions with f3, and the reason is this target usually doesn't stay here for long, because the point of this maneuver is actually to go e4.
Okay.
And so after, for example, I don't know, say he goes knight c6, right? You're all ready to go e4.
Okay, I see what you're saying then.
And I think these positions are really nice for white. And actually, if black isn't careful, he can end up in trouble on the king side.
True.
Because
yeah, I see that.
Stuff like queen c2,
yep.
There's pressure. So that's how I like to handle these positions. But b4, it can't possibly be a bad move.
Right, but it's good to see that there's other options that also make sense.
Yeah, but I mean, this was all fine. Bishop b2 makes sense to me. I was wondering about this move. I'm not convinced it's a good move.
Yeah, I looked at it, and restricting pieces is something I always love doing, but I wasn't actually sure the knight was all that bad on a5.
I came to sort of the same conclusion. It's a little bit annoying, and it's not totally out of play here. It's like slowing down your a4, a5.
Exactly.
So
and it opens up his bishop.
Yes. So I like this bishop b2 move, just very sensible developing move. Queen e8, and here we have it, d5.
Yeah, here we have it.
So
I spent a long time here, and looked at my main moves I was looking at. My main moves I was looking at were knight b5 and d5.
Mm-hmm.
Didn't give queen c2 enough thought. I think that was probably the safe standard move to play here.
I absolutely agree. I would play queen c2 probably in a heartbeat here. And the reason is
I should develop and get my pieces protected, because I want to crack things open.
Yeah. Well, the other thing is I don't think d5 is really what you're playing for here. And weirdly enough, I would keep playing for e4 in this position.
Really?
Yeah, I would play queen c2 and go e4.
Huh. I didn't consider that.
And the reason is I don't know. What does black play here? How do you play the Dutch? I don't know. Do you go queen h5?
So I think that's the standard thing here, to bring the queen in to start attacking. The worry I have about queen c2 is, what if he does something like queen g6 and then tries to sack on d4?
I'll fall for it.
Oh, right. Yeah, I can just e4.
I mean, I see what you're saying, because here, this is complicated, because now he's discovering attacks here. Although
I've got takes knight with check.
Yeah. So okay, I'll do it better. Well, no, I didn't do it. Well, I've made it very complicated.
Yep.
No, I just take this.
This is very weird.
But it's winning, because I have bishop takes c2 back.
Right.
But I mean, it clearly has to be calculated. It's a sharp move. But I think in almost all Dutches, in like all e3 Dutches, you really want to be playing for e4, is my understanding. I might be wrong. I've been wrong before. But this is what I like to play for in these positions.
Yeah, I don't... Hold on 1 second. I'm sorry. My dog...
No, it's okay.
Sorry.
No worries.
Okay, yeah, I don't know. The problem is I don't know the Dutch well, and I didn't know about this E4 plan, so I never even really thought about it in the game. I see now, yeah, that it would have worked well.
Yeah, it just gives white sort of play. It's interesting because you break E4, you have a lot of space on the queen side, and you have play on the king side. So I just like these positions all over for white.
Yep, I already like it just looking at it.
So after queen e8, yeah, d5. Did you expect knight e5?
Yeah, I figured that was basically forced.
And what did you calculate here?
Okay. From here, I had, as happened in the game, here he would trade off, and queen c8 I expected.
You expected queen c8?
I did not expect queen c8.
What did you expect? Queen d8?
And then d6 comes with a little more oomph.
After queen d8, you said?
Right.
Show me why. I'm actually not quite understanding. So, say he goes queen d8, right? Why is d6 more powerful here?
Because I'm going to be able to keep that knight planted on d6 for a long time.
Well, okay.
Unless he's willing to trade it off.
But he always is, isn't he? Like, isn't this almost transposing? Close to transposing?
Except there's no pressure on my c-pawn.
That's true.
So I have a move to get that covered.
So, would you play bishop f6 a la game?
I'm sorry, I don't understand the question.
Would you play bishop f6 like you did in the game in this position?
No, because I don't need to worry about the two loose pieces on the second rank.
The issue I saw was after this move, I thought knight e4. Well, although that might be a problem.
Right, exactly.
Okay. So interesting, but queen c8 it turns out to be more accurate. Yeah, that's a really easy thing to miss.
Yeah.
I'm gonna be honest, I totally missed your d6 idea in the game. I was like, oh, white's just much worse. And then you played...
Yeah, that was the plan.
Well, then you played d6, and I was like, oh, that's really interesting. And then the more I looked at it, I was like, white's still much worse.
Yeah, I'm sorry, you have to give me one more second.
No, take your time, take your time.
Apparently my dog's freaked out because my roommate forgot his key and was trying to get in.
Ah, that will freak a dog out.
Yeah, sorry about that.
No, it's okay. So d6 came, but it's not as effective because there is pressure on the c-pawn. And yeah, you have some issues here if you take this.
Yeah, and I made the stupid mistake of going with analysis that I had already figured out for a slightly different move, and not noticing exactly the distinction that it made in the game. The line looked good on queen d8, and when he played queen c8, I had spent so much time calculating that I'm already fairly down on the clock. I'm like, I don't think this is all that different. I see this issue with the loose pieces on the second, but I think I've got intermezzos to make it work, and it turned out I just didn't.
Yeah, the problem is, but I think the other problem for you is that if you don't play d6, your position is just worse.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, I'm committed now.
Because you've given up the light square bishop, and if you don't get any compensation, you're just going to get murdered by this guy.
Yep.
So I like d6. I think it's the right practical try. But here, yeah, you just have issues.
Yeah, it's exactly. At this point, I'm just, okay, how am I going to stop the bleeding already?
Yeah. So bishop f6. Yeah, it's hard. After queen d6, queen c4, a lot of problems are cropping up in your position.
Yep.
So here he went a little fancy. I didn't think he needed to do bishop g2. I thought this was just really strong.
I thought bishop h2 was coming here, and I wasn't happy about it.
Instead of rook f6, you mean?
Yeah. No, instead of bishop g2, I thought he was going to do bishop h2 check.
Show me the lines, because this was actually not something I looked at. And, yes. Ho-hum. So...
Yeah, not fun.
That's a problem, I agree. I mean, can't you go f3 here?
Okay, I'll bring another piece into the attack.
Yeah, but, okay. Like, prove it, right?
Okay, I guess that's fair.
I think white... I think this is sort of similar to the game,
yeah,
where you end up, like, a pawn down for nothing. But it's not like you're getting mated here. You just have a worse position.
Right. Okay. This isn't as scary as I thought it was.
Yeah, I think the f3 move is really critical there. You have to blunt the diagonal.
Oh, yeah.
So, I was looking at just rook f6. And
that's totally a move here.
Well, the problem for you is, okay, you have to take the piece, right?
Yep.
And queen c4. What do you do? You actually have...
I mostly cry here.
me too. Me too.
I'm pretty sure I have to do something like knight f4.
No, knight f4 actually is losing.
Oh, wait, no, that's right. I looked at knight f4 and then realized that it fails. Because I don't have the check because the bishop is covering d5 as well.
There's just, like, problems with, like, g5 and stuff.
Yep.
So I think you have to play this.
And then I can put the rooks on C and D and hope maybe I can get my pawn back.
Well, the problem that you face in this position... oh, sorry, not that one. Not queen d7. That's a bad move.
Clearly. Yep, rook f7 wrecks me.
Oh, I was looking at this, actually.
That wrecks me as well.
Yeah. And the problems you end up with is that you could never play f3, because this hangs with check every time. So... that's why I thought you had to play queen d2, which guards the e3 square.
Uh-huh.
And then, I don't know, I think it's bad.
Yeah, there's a lot of bad all around.
Like, I don't know, is this a thing? That's probably a thing.
It's a move I was looking at as a thing, yeah.
Yeah, so, I mean...
I was wondering if I could get away with knight g3 there for a moment, or and then hope to get in, like, rook fc1 with tempo, and then get the knight to f1. I don't know. So,
knight g3 you might get away with, although... you have to play f3 still.
Then I can play f3.
It's true, but then you played f3, would be my claim.
Yeah.
But I mean,
again,
yeah,
that's true.
You're holding on. It's not immediately lost. So maybe this is not so much. But okay, bishop g2 was really interesting.
Yeah, this was not a move I had considered. And I'll be honest, I didn't consider bishop takes the h2 until the position was on the board.
Yeah.
And so on his move, I started calculating what I was going to do on bishop h2, and then he went and played bishop g2.
And you're like, fuck.
And it's just, yes, that was exactly what I said.
Yeah, but I think you played the best move in the position. It's funny. I got them.
I looked at all of the captures were bad.
Yeah. Bishop g7 doesn't work. I forget.
I know, I wanted it to work. I wanted so hard, and it just doesn't.
Well, you just lose the Desperado battle to a tempo on the queen. Like, like
Right.
piece
I
down.
figured this out. It's just a piece down.
So, this one, Queen D6 just loses the exchange, I think.
Yes.
So Rook FD1 was a good move. It's funny if you watch the broadcast, I was so annoyed because
I will later.
I got the moves wrong. I like thought you played King G2, and I'm like, Archon, you can't do this. And then I went back, and I'm like, oh, he didn't play King G2. Sorry, Archon. So yeah, Rook FD1. Now here I was looking at a lot of stuff for...
Oh, there's so many options for black. He's spoiled for choice. Yeah, he's got 2 pieces hanging right now, but he's got so much going on.
Yeah, I thought perhaps very annoying was this Bishop F3 move.
Doesn't the Desperado work now, though? Bishop takes G7, and then I can... Oh, no, it doesn't.
Maybe I'm missing something. I take this?
No, it doesn't. It just doesn't work.
So yeah, the issue with this is all of a sudden you can't really take this piece.
Yep. But I can bring my bishop back.
You can. I'm worried for your king.
Oh, yeah, I'm a little worried for my king, too. I was actually looking at bishop h4 there. Instead of b2.
Ooh, that might be a better move.
To try to get another piece defending and challenge the bishop on the diagonal.
It's a very sensible
after
move.
moving to g3.
Yeah, very sensible. This might hold. This might be okay. Because well, he's not really hanging. He's still not hanging on d6, annoyingly.
Right, but right now I'm only down a pawn.
Yeah, that's true. That's sort of what the conclusion we end up with in most of these variations, is somehow you're only down a pawn at the end of everything.
Yes, only!
I mean, it's better than the position looked, honestly. I thought...
Yeah, like, I'm not happy with this position, but every time I went through a line, I'm like, you know what? I might be able to get this down to an endgame that I can hold.
Yeah. But, so after Rook F6, I think you made the right decision. I think you have to take this bishop. Taking on d6, there's bishop f3, and it's very problematic. So, yeah. I liked this. Queen t6, f3 only move.
Only.
Rook d6. And here...
And now my knight's not loose anymore.
Yeah, you're doing okay here, actually. Bishop e5.
I looked at, instead of king f2, I looked at knight g3 as well.
Oh, that can't be good.
Yep, and that was exactly what I said.
That can't be good.
Because after h5, I can't
right?
to support it. Although I can just take the bishop. It just got weird.
Yeah, I mean... No, this loses. It comes close to losing. It doesn't lose. But, I mean, this is a problem.
Oh, and I can't just play f4 to save it.
And h5.
I can't just play f4 to save it there, right?
If you play f4, I just go like bishop f6, right?
f4 is pinned.
Oh, f3 is pinned, yeah.
f3 is pinned, I mean, yeah.
Yeah, that's true. But even if you could, I don't think it helps. I think bishop f6.
I guess that's fair.
But yeah, so I think this loses. So yeah, king f2, it makes sense. The king's fairly safe on f2, strangely enough.
Yep.
I was sort of surprised, because here I kept like not believing it.
I did not expect bishop e5. I was really thrown by that move.
It's a good move, I think.
I feel like I want to play rook ac1 anyway, and it's just letting me do it with tempo.
Well, but his bishop's hanging with tempo, right?
Why not take the pawn?
Because then you take d7.
And then can't he just take c4 and then shift the queen over on the h-file?
could
Oh,
try this.
Saw it.
I mean, I didn't really calculate all of this, I'm going to be honest.
No, that looks reasonable.
But I was also worried on bishop h2, like, it feels like this bishop's a little away from home. You can't go f4 right now.
Right.
But, like, even here, f4 maybe? I mean, here it's probably bad because of this move.
Right, yeah, I was just going to say queen e4 comes in, and how am I dealing with that?
But, I mean, yeah, I think this rook d4 move is pretty strong because
Yeah.
e6 is going to start being problematic. Like, rook h4 is in the air.
Mm-hmm.
It's not so clear. This is probably more complicated than black wants. I like this bishop e5 move. I think it's simple.
Okay.
You know me, I like simple chess. This is simple. Black's just moving his stuff to squares where it makes sense.
And here I'm just trying to get cute here.
I don't mind knight d4. What's the problem with knight d4?
Oh, yeah. I want to trade things off and maybe get to an endgame that can be held.
Well, I think this trade is not awful for you. Or sorry, not this trade. Here you take with the queen.
Queen takes.
There was some line
absolutely.
later where you have to take with the e-pawn. I forget why, to be honest.
Oh, well, I'm not sure which one you mean, but we'll see when we get there.
Yeah. But yeah, I mean, this I sort of like your chances. You're keeping his rook quite passive on d8.
Yeah, and I'm going to pressure on the g file and try to hit on g7. And
Yeah.
how's he really breaking through here?
I mean, also, you can even think about a move such as queen d6. And I'm not sure...
Trading into the 2 rook ending.
But the thing about the double rook ending is that your rook on d6 is sort of paralyzing.
Yes.
Especially, and you can put a ton of pressure on this d7 pawn. And you have compensation there. I don't know, it might be objectively lost, but those things are tricky. So I like his move. Queen b7 makes a lot of sense.
All rook endings are drawn, you know that.
Yes, I do know that. Rook g1, it's annoying for him, because he can't really not trade.
And that's one less attacker I have to worry about.
King, oh yeah, so here was where you would have to take with the pawn.
Yes.
But here I might have gone for it, because it gives more weaknesses to you.
Yeah, I saw this as a thing, and there's not a whole lot I can do. He's going to have some good options because his position is just better, and I'm looking for things where I might have something to work with.
So, what was wrong with rook g1? Bishop h2 with tempo is the problem?
Yeah, that's what I was worried about. I don't want to be down 2 pawns here.
Okay. And...
because I can't just pull my cute little knight takes e6 trick here because he takes the rook with check.
Mm-hmm. But what if I do this? It's too much material. Well,
no, it's too much material. I'm losing a piece too.
Yeah, he just takes. He just takes.
Yeah, it's a cute thing to look at, but it just doesn't hold.
It doesn't work. I agree. I wanted it to work.
I wanted those sort of things to work too.
But, okay. So, what if I do this and say I'll play knight takes e6 next move?
Then he has queen b8. Okay, fair.
So I think this is not so clear. Here he has this odd move.
Yeah, okay. Oh. Huh.
But it probably should...
f5.
Yeah, take f5 that way. That gets your pawn back.
Because I'm hitting on g7 also.
Yeah, it's a lot of problems, actually. That's not a good move. So yeah, I think this was okay for you, actually. He can't really take it.
I didn't look far enough on the rook takes because I saw bishop h2, and then I was like, okay, this is clearly bad, and just moved on to the king g1 line.
Yeah, That makes sense.
Which is lazy calculation, but I was down a bit on the clock at this point.
I'm definitely guilty of similar sins, like, oh, this is clearly bad, even though I haven't fully analyzed it. The only reason I sort of thought to analyze this a little bit further is I had been looking at variations where the bishop ends up trapped with f4.
Right, that makes sense.
And I had already seen these ideas of knight e6, which you had clearly seen as well. So
right, that was the plan.
In my mind, I'm sort of like, there's almost a double attack here, weirdly enough.
Yeah, it is kind of weird.
Where after rook g2, it's almost a double attack. It is a double attack. I'm attacking two things.
Is. It's just not blatantly obvious.
It's not like a fork.
Right.
But black actually has too much to handle here, although that might save it. That actually does save it. It's not working. Yeah, I don't see what you do here.
Yeah.
So, complex. Requires a lot of analysis. In the end, it looks like it's not quite working, but definitely complex.
Yeah, and I'm at, like, if I remember right, I'm at like 9 minutes on the clock here.
Yeah, it's hard to play like that. So king g1 makes sense. As him, I probably would have gone into this endgame where you have more weaknesses and the d file is closed. But okay.
Yeah, that was what I was expecting.
Rook c8 is interesting. F4 here. I didn't like taking.
Really
now that you can take
what you took here.
Yeah, as black, I'm going bishop f6 all day.
Then I'm going b5 d6. Knight b5 to d6. And now he's got this backwards pawn that he doesn't have the tempo to move.
That is a good point. I agree.
I took because knight b5 here is actually a really irritating threat.
I agree. I miss this idea in the game. I'll be very honest. Yeah, this is annoying. And if the knight lands on d6,
I have a whole bunch of weirdly placed pawns, but they're surprisingly hard for him to get to, even though they're like all on dark squares, and he has a dark square bishop.
That was why I wanted to keep the dark square bishop, was because
right. But where's the bishop gonna go to hit a pawn that's not a bad move for him?
Yeah, I agree. I mean, this move looks so awkward, but I think it's not so dumb.
Yeah, I think that might have been his best play, because if he doesn't want the knight coming to d6, he's got to cover d6 somehow, but then why not trade the knight off to start with? Oh.
I just think...
Wait, does that actually work?
I'm not going to take, if that's what you're thinking of.
Well, obviously, no.
I mean, it's interesting, but I'm just going to play a6.
Well, I just come on back to d4 with tempo and try to find another way to develop my pieces.
Okay, but my point is that I have a long-term good position.
Right, that's true.
I don't have to rush this, but okay. I mean, he's trading into an ending where he can't lose. Like,
exactly.
How much can I fault him for that?
It can't be that wrong.
d5, yeah, that's annoying.
That felt wrong. He's giving me the 3-on-2 majority.
It's true. And that was sort of your, I would say, saving grace in the ending.
Yeah, it gave me something to play for. Like, I get that he hates that the d-pawn is backward and gonna come under attack, but I feel like he could have just, like, planted his king on e7 or e8 and been fine.
I think...
After a little bit of prep.
Yeah, I was gonna say, because I think...
Not immediately.
The problem is, like, here, like, isn't this annoying?
Yeah, I mean, it's annoying, but is it gonna amount to anything?
Well, what do you play here? Rook d8?
Rook c7. Rook c7.
Rook c7. You want to play rook c7. Okay. Maybe you can go queen c8, oddly enough.
That's exactly what I'm trying to do, is get the queen around the other way.
That's not such a bad idea.
And now I'm going to pressure... Now, as black, you'll be pressuring on c4, and you'll have the... I think you have just enough moves to get everything rearranged the way you need, because you're the one with the better position, so you're going to play for it.
But, okay, like... There's no problems
Then
here?
g6.
Ah, I don't have queen h8. That's what I wanted.
Yep.
Okay, yeah. Fair. That's annoying. I'll give you that. But...
Yeah, so I was happy to see c5 because I thought that he could just hold this if he was careful. And then I'm going to spend the whole rest of the game trying to defend on c4 until he finally gets his queen into, like, f3 somehow.
I'm not convinced this is so bad for you. So like, the reason why is I think you actually have an active plan here of going h4, h5.
And just break it apart. Yeah,
and as soon as it breaks apart, you go rook back to g1.
Yeah, that actually does make sense.
But here, I think he might be... No, he can't do that. I was going to go d6, but that's ridiculous. I want to go d6, b5, but that clearly doesn't work. Even then,
Can he get away... If I play h4, can he get away with h5 and just try to hold it? That's one more weakness, then.
h4... So, okay, I mean, he has to make a move, first of all.
No, that's okay. He doesn't...
He doesn't move?
I don't think so.
Well, if he doesn't... Like, weirdly enough... He's arriving at a zugzwang.
Yeah.
So, like, okay, say he just goes h5.
And then I just h4.
Yeah, it's like...
Trap, make g6 a permanent weakness.
It's like, what is exactly is black doing? He's playing this, actually.
I was going to say rook c6, but that works too. And better.
And this is not exactly what we want. But, I mean... This seems very holdable.
Yeah, and I mean, that's really all I'm hoping for, is to try to find a position where it's holdable for both sides is the best you can do.
Yeah. But here, like, this should be drawable.
Yeah. Oh, I mean, and it was, if I didn't find the one losing move.
b5, takes, queen b6... Yeah, this is nice. You can't trade, obviously, because of the...
Yeah,
it freezes the majority. Although, I'm not sure that's even true.
I counted it out.
You counted it out. Show me.
I can't stop his king from getting into c5.
Actually, so hold on. Say this, right?
Yep.
Yeah. Yes, that can't be drawn. But okay, say. Do I have any trickies here? No, I don't have any.
Like
trickies.
I wanted to, but it doesn't look like there.
Yeah, no, this is not working. Okay, don't trade. Queen d4. Principled. This is all principled. Everything holds. King f2, g5. Yeah. Push your majority. We know. King 2, yeah.
Yeah, I had to cover the queen getting in.
I was interested in this move.
At this point, I'm already looking to try perpetual tricks. So I just wanted to get the king on e2 so he was safe, and then bring the queen into h8 and start just checking madly.
I just think g4 is annoying.
But where's it going?
To g1 if you let it.
but like, I'm not gonna let it. I've got the pawn on h2 right now, and like, if his queen comes in and starts checking me and wins the h2 pawn, then I'm lost anyway.
Yeah. Here.
So it felt like it was one thing that if I'm worrying about that problem, I've already lost somewhere else already.
I agree with that. Here I thought.
The geometries here were a lot weirder than I thought they were going to be.
Yeah, the interesting thing here is I was interested in this queen h4 move because you don't want to let him to go to e7.
Yeah. Exactly.
But then all of a sudden there's no check.
Yep, but I'm okay because
Yeah.
he also has no check.
Yeah, queen e7 is a good move. Just really central, putting pressure. Here, I didn't really like what you did.
I think that was wrong.
I think you take this.
So I caught just a tiny bit of your poking at this position before we joined up, and I didn't even look at that.
Well, the reason I think you should take this...
I'm worried about taking because he takes back with check,
and
then all of a sudden it gets weird.
He can't take a4, though.
Why?
Because you take e6.
No, I take e6, yeah.
And then you win another pawn.
With check.
Yeah, you probably win another pawn with check. But even if you don't, even if you just take d5, right? That should be drawn. Your king's right there.
Yeah, this was a much safer way to play it, and I saw that queen takes a6 came with check, and then a4 would fall, and just figured that it all fell apart. And again, lazy. Here, I've still got like 7 minutes, and I should have spent the time on this a little harder.
Yeah, especially when he's made a structural commitment here.
Yeah.
Like, this is a big move he's decided to play. And this is what I was talking about earlier with your queenside majority, right?
Yep.
Like, here's your chance to say, I have a passed pawn. And it's a little...
Yeah, what are you going to do about it?
And because it is a little bit of a tactical trick in that you're saying this ending is drawn.
Yeah.
That's your claim. And I think it's a correct claim. I mean, it's possible.
It definitely is a correct claim, and the problem I ran into is this position on the board right now. When I looked at it, I didn't immediately see it was drawn.
Yeah.
And then I avoided the position. But if I had spent a little time poking at that, I would have seen that and played for this for sure.
And I think the other thing is, like, the other claim you have to make is that this position is drawn.
I feel like that one's slightly harder to prove.
I agree. I wasn't sure.
This position scares me. For me to have 3 pawn islands and be down a pawn with queens on board, it looks like it's all holding, but I'm afraid of this position.
Yeah, I don't blame you. You have to have faith in this passed pawn. I'm not sure it works because of this.
I don't know if I have that much faith.
And this
we're already losing a pawn here.
I know. I'm aware. But that's why you actually don't have to play queen d7. Maybe you can find a better move than queen d7. For instance, maybe you can play this move.
And then queen takes e3 with check.
Okay. No, bad move. Bad move. I agree. Let's do this. No, okay. Okay.
No.
Now it's just ridiculous. I want to cover that diagonal, but I can't.
Nope. That's why I go back to checking.
Yeah, queen e8. Guard the pawn with tempo. There we go. Now we're talking.
Yep.
And this is a position, right? But you have this passed pawn, which I think gives you counterplay, if nothing else.
And honestly, queen b5 might be a move after this.
That's true. Queen b5 is possibly very annoying. And claiming...
Because the queen actually has no entries yet, which, as weird as that seems.
Yes. I like queen b5, actually. I think... I'm not sure about the king and pawn. But it's interesting. I can tell you that much.
No, the king and pawn is lost. If he plays king f6 here, yeah.
This one?
And he just goes to e7, or e5. I can't push the pawn.
You're not planning on pushing the pawn. You're planning on taking all his pawns.
Can't he just play d4 here?
He can. I wouldn't recommend it. Because he can't take the pawn.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, I think he goes here, and the thing you have to wonder is something like d4 here, followed by f4 at some point.
Okay, yeah, that gets a little hairy.
But white has maybe d5 ideas. and it's not so clear.
Right.
I think it's lost, but
yeah, like my gut says it is, but I haven't calculated.
Yeah. So okay, well, I mean, none of this can be so wrong. The problem here is when he goes king e5. I wanted to have a check on this diagonal.
Yep.
But here you don't, and he's really getting what he wants. So
you know, I at this point in the game, I'm playing for perpetual, so I'm thinking I'm also getting what I want. But I hear what you're saying. I should have tried to find winning chances, and I was just so worried about not losing.
Well, I don't think you want winning chances, but I think you want drawing chances. And I think you're not getting drawing chances when his queen gets to block. His king is safer on a7 than it's been on any other part of the board. So like here, after king e5, I would take again. Well, okay, not here. Not
here. And then plan queen b8.
I would here I would take. As soon as his king is not defending e6, I would take on a6.
I don't see why that matters.
Well, because you want queen e6 and the queen a4 lines.
Oh, okay, I see what you're saying. To tactically guard a4. Gotcha.
And so here, again, he doesn't have to take. He can go queen b6. But again, this is not clear after
I got queen e8 to b5, right.
Well, probably not to b5 in this position. But...
Oh, right, yeah.
But here, you have something to play for. This pawn is strong.
Okay, and my queen is clearly more active than his.
Yeah, and he has to be worried about this if he ever wants to invade. So, it's something. Okay. But I think you made life hard for yourself here. Yeah. I mean, you're committed, right? You can't...
Now I'm committed. So as soon as I made it, this was another move I wish I could take back. Queen d7, the last move.
Mm-hmm.
I wish I'd gone to e7 instead.
What's so you can go queen c5 check?
Yeah, exactly. And then how's he getting out of the checks from there? Just back on the diagonal, f8. Oh, right. Awesome.
I mean, this is interesting.
Oh, actually, yes, I did see this. And then I've got b6, a5.
Well, but he goes a5 is the problem.
Oh.
So this actually loses. So you have to play something...
Like queen c5?
Yeah. But that's not what you want to play. You like, here you've made your position worse because you can't even take on e6 here. So,
okay, then maybe d7 was right after all.
So takes... I think you have to take this. But I think this is lost as well. I think your position is simply lost.
I don't think this is a loss. I think this is drawn.
Well, so this line, I was pretty certain was lost.
Right, and that's why I didn't play into taking the pawn back.
Because here I think you're lost. The king actually finds a way to swoop down to like e1.
Yep, that was what I was looking at, and that's why I didn't take the pawn back on b5.
But you think that that this is not lost?
Yeah, I think I can draw this.
I would not be confident in that.
Well, I mean, obviously I did not draw it.
But no, like if I had this position, I would just be like, I'm so lost. Like,
yeah. I don't see it. I think so clearly I make the terrible, terrible move here, but queen d4 check.
Mm-hmm. Okay, say I do this, right? No. Say I do this.
Now I can play queen a4.
That's true. Okay, that was a bad move. Okay, say I do this. You might be able to take
Can
this.
I just take there? He can't push it to A2 yet.
He can.
Sort of.
The king is open when he does.
Exactly.
Do you have perpetual?
Like, how do I not have perpetual here?
Well, you don't have perpetual because I put your king on a terrible square.
Point.
But the king does not have to go to f3.
Well, actually, it might still be okay because I could check on c5.
Yeah.
And then on c8.
Hmm.
And then just bounce back and forth, and
You're
if he
gonna
ever
check
blocks
me
the
on
queen, I
A6.
check on the A.
Yeah. So, okay, you check on c5. Queen b6. You have queen a3.
Yep. Exactly. Now, whenever he blocks with the queen and takes the queen off of the pawn, I'm just going to check along the A file.
Okay, is something like this? Is this anything?
I have, I think, 2 checks that work just fine here.
Yeah. So I'm going to walk towards my queen and my pawn.
And just claim that you can get yourself into like B1 safely or something, and
I'll
then
try.
you doesn't have to protect it.
Or claim that I'll block a check on b3 or something, or b4 even.
I don't see it. I think I can just keep checking you here.
Show me. I don't believe it for a second. Great. Mm-hmm. Yep. Mm-hmm. Yep. Mm-hmm. Gotcha. Boom!
Oh, yeah, there we go.
That's the thing, like, when the pawn's on a2, and my king's walking towards my queen, I don't...
How about now, though?
How about now?
You can't just push.
It's true. I agree with that. That's probably a good move. King b1. Yeah. I have to think.
Oh.
I know. A terrible thing to think. What I really need is I need my king to go near your king.
Right, and my claim is you can't.
You might not be wrong. That was a good move, that queen... What was it?
A5.
Queen a5. That was a very good move. Can I be so ridiculous as to say I can take this? I guess you just go queen e1, b4.
Yeah, I'm just going to do the same thing.
Yeah. Okay. And do I have any productive checks against you?
Oh, I can move my pawn with tempo? Cool.
I don't think you want to do that.
Gotcha.
So, Yeah, you're gonna have to move that king to somewhere
Right,
where
you have to move the king so where you can't check along the diagonal, right?
Yeah, that's my point, right? Ooh, you're gonna allow me this and this. Wait, hold on. No. Get back here. Get back here. This?
Okay, yeah, that doesn't work.
It's tricky, right? Queen f6.
Right. Clearly doesn't work.
Okay. I'd like to see where this one's going. Oh boy. This is not possible. You're just gonna stay on a light square every time?
Yep.
No way.
See, that little cross you see on the top of the king's head isn't a cross, it's the middle finger.
No way. Aha. I'm making progress. No, you lose.
Right.
That's my point. As soon as the pawn gets down there, like, it's real hard. And that position came about basically by force.
Right.
After a3. Because not that one. You wanted to go queen d4, queen b6. I don't see what you do if you don't take the pawn. You have this check maybe. But no, you run out of checks then.
Yeah. I think the pawn has to be taken here.
And I mean, this was pretty forcing. I mean, you don't have to step on f3. Maybe that makes a difference. I don't know. I can't work that out. But I think if you step on the back rank, you give me a tempo.
Yeah, the back rank is clearly wrong, so it's f3 or d3.
But if you come to d3, you're all of a sudden close to my king. Maybe I can land a cross check or something. I mean, this looks very close to loss to me. It's all about how advanced the pass pawns are. And you don't have a good way. Well, hold on. Can you lead with this check? This check seems more challenging.
Yeah, maybe I went the wrong checking route, and I can just keep the queen creating a wall.
Well, what now, right? You don't have b5. Is part of your problem. I'll walk up though. I'm always walking up, and that's what makes it so annoying. I'll walk up and try not to get skewered to my queen.
Yeah, that was the first thing I was just looking at there. It's like, can I pull that off? Although, there is something to keep in mind here. Your king has lost access to some squares.
It's true.
So your king can't, while getting checked, get around in front of your pawn.
Well, the thing is, I will need to play queen b3. Or I'll have to block a check on b3 or b4 to give my king the b2 square.
Right, so then I just need to not let you do that.
Not as easy, I think. Not so easy. Yeah. No, okay, yeah, fine.
And I think that's part of the problem you're going to run into.
It's the skewer. Well, as soon as my king gets closer, I can allow the skewer.
And now I'm just going to check you back and forth on the A and B.
Yeah, you're not going to give me that square, are you?
Of course not.
Of course not.
Your king's now in a box.
And this one? I can't do that.
Yep.
I wanted to go king b3. And then you go queen c3 and I go backwards. Oh, okay. Let's try again. Oh, okay.
Now we repeat.
Well, yeah, I have to go to a3. How annoying. Okay. Fine. Go check me. I'll go queen b2. I'm okay with that. Yeah, and I'll do this. And I'll do this. And you go king c2. Or you do... Well, I can take
Maybe
that.
I don't have...
My pawn goes that way. But you go queen c2. How annoying of you. And I literally only have one move. And now... can I do this?
I think you'll give me this as a perpetual now.
I might have a trick up my sleeve here. It's always tricky. It's always very tricky.
I think I have to actually move my king away now.
If you move your king, I might try and check you on the diagonal.
Well, any of the checks I have are along the light diagonal and allow you to block on b3 or b5. So those are not options.
I agree.
So I can't just play queen a1 because queen b2.
What?
If I play queen a1 to block the pawn, queen b2. b1, excuse me. Queen b1.
I was so confused. No, queen b1 makes less sense.
So a pawn move doesn't really accomplish anything, so I have to move my king. Actually, maybe I should just pass.
That's what I was going to say. Like, play like h4.
Yeah, hey, you want a pawn?
No, I'm okay with that one, thanks.
Oh, no, that doesn't work, because you just have queen b1
here. Yeah, queen b1 wins.
So I have to move my king off of this diagonal.
So you have to go to e2, only square. But now I'm going to try and get you with some trickies.
You want to repeat?
No. No, I don't. I got you. Don't you worry. Yeah. Well, I got what I wanted, but I don't know how great it is.
What is it that you wanted here?
I thought my getting my queen on g2 was some great accomplishment.
Congratulations.
And now I'm questioning that.
Now it can't block checks.
Okay, check. Yeah.
I like you too.
Big surprise. And hold on. You have no check? Question mark?
I have no check, but what are you doing if I pass? Oh, if I pass, you have
queen c4 check. So again, the king has to move.
I have to move the queen.
Or the queen. Sure, I was going to say the king, but whatever. That can't.
No, that doesn't work.
Yeah, queen c4 still. I was thinking you were going to make a king move.
Yeah, I think I have to. Moving the queen along the first can't be right. And
I mean, it can be. Queen endings are very bizarre in that way, but...
Okay, fair.
And I'm going to say you have no check. I'm kind of a bully like that. Yeah, I see it. I see it. I'm gonna say this is winning. Yep. I haven't fully calculated this, but I think you have no check. Okay, you had a check.
There's that one.
I think you have no. Oh no. Yeah, I know. You have no check. No, you have that check over there.
I always have a check.
That's not true. Queen b3.
Yeah, it is.
Get out of my house. Check. You queen a1.
Yup.
Oh my god. This must be winning. Oh yeah, this wins. This wins. I check. That's the point. I will always win this position. And that's the other thing about this position. A computer might be able to draw this really easily. But when I'm playing a human, I'm confident I'll win this position like 90% of the time. Well, I can do this anyway.
Right. Okay. Yeah, that move's always going to come in.
So that's my thing about this queen ending. Like maybe the table base holds it. I don't know. Well, it's 7 pieces, so we'd have to use a 7-piece table base.
Well, I'm curious if we go back. Just I wonder what the computer analyzes it at.
Yeah,
but I see your point here that even if it is technically a draw, how am I ever going to?
So after a3, the computer gives 0. So
does it have a clever line?
Queen d4,
yeah,
queen
that's
b6.
clearly the right move.
It takes on d5, queen
Which
b2.
is how we started it on the replay.
Oh, it really doesn't like king f3. So if you play king f3, you lose. That's how you lose this position as a human.
Right. When we went through it, though, we saw that king d3 was so much better because it blocked your king from getting in.
So king d3, a2, queen d7 check. Not a check we looked at. Oops.
Yeah, but it says queen a5 check is good, too.
Queen d5, king b6. It wants to go queen d8, queen d6. It's fine.
Still draw.
Okay, king b5, no, queen a5, queen c7, king a4, queen a7. It's still drawn. Queen b6. No, this was a drawn line. After queen c7, I had to play queen b6 in order to make progress, I think. Didn't I play queen?
It says no.
Didn't I play queen b6 eventually?
Yes, that's one of the 2 choices you've made.
I think I wanted to play queen b6 because I think I wasn't making any progress. Queen c3. Here I went king a4, queen c4, king a3.
And this is just the repeating draw.
c1. Oh yeah. So how did I make progress here?
So I messed up somewhere because it's like, oh, nope, 0, 0.
But I made progress. And I'm really not sure how I made progress. I played queen b2. That's how I made progress.
And then queen c5.
And I played queen b4. And queen a7. After queen c1, you lose.
Okay, so that's the mistake.
But that's the thing, like, are you going to find that? Like, are you going to find precisely queen a7?
Okay, that's where it is. That makes sense, actually. Because then if you try to run to c1, I actually have queen... Oh, wait, no, queen a1's not going to work.
You have queen g1, I think.
Oh, there it is. Yeah.
But, like, you have to see this geometry. It's not easy.
Yeah, it was.
This is a really easy position to lose, in my opinion.
As we saw.
Quickly, I want to check the evaluation of the AB5 lines. Because you took on F5, right? And got into this position?
Yeah, I'm seeing zeros both ways.
But yeah, let's see why. So if you take King F2, I wanted to go Queen B2 check and Queen D2. And it takes this and says no problem.
Yeah.
I don't know why, to be honest. I would be scared in this position.
I'd take the pawn.
Yeah, I would just be scared of this. Again, I'd be scared because the passed pawn is more advanced. I think this is very easy to lose.
I think this might be a little easier to hold because it's in the center.
That's true. That's true. The king, but then you have to worry about like the king getting like the pawn blocking for it. I think the rook pawn can be harder to promote.
Right, but there's fewer blockers in the way. All of the long checks are going to exist.
That's true. There's more like weird geometry that can go on. That's clearly not
like
queen
there
geometry.
were definitely times where like that E3 pawn, I wished it weren't there.
Yeah,
because
yeah.
It's blocking me from checking.
That's true. That's true. I think I would not be surprised if I lost this.
Yeah, I could see either side losing this.
Although I think
wrong.
one problem that Black has here is it's actually a concrete problem. On D4, like how do you stop me checking you along the 5th forever?
Yeah. And this is the sort of thing I was trying to play for. I just sort of felt like I was going to be able to always check and hold the perpetual, and I just made a total brain fart of a move.
Yeah. But we see that, like, if you had played precisely, you would have been in for a long defense.
You know, I was already planning to be in for a long defense. That's why I didn't think too long on that move.
Yeah. It's queen endings, man. They're tricky. I remember I won queen in 3 versus queen in 3. It's so easy to just grind someone in a queen ending. If they're...
Yeah, and this game went wrong a long time ago.
And
I'm looking for my best chances, and then just... Exactly. There's going to be a moment where you slip up and it all falls down.
Honestly, you gave yourself good chances from the position that you had to arrive at this sort of queen ending that is objectively drawn. That's a good result.
Yeah, thank you. That was the hope from when I started. When I realized just how badly I'd screwed up with d5 after not reanalyzing in response to queen c8, then saying, okay, how much can I get off the board? I wanted a rook and pawn, but that wasn't going to happen.
Yeah. I mean, honestly, queen and pawn gives good chances for draws, especially because both kings were really quite open.
And quite far from each other.
Yeah, that's the other thing. So there's unlikely cross checks. You just happen to land right in.
Find the one stupid one.
But I mean, yeah, it's a good. You steered the game in the right direction. You just ended up, unfortunately, not finding the correct continuation at the very end.
Yeah, it was an interesting game for sure.
It was certainly interesting. I think I could see a lot of thought from both players. It's really surprised me how resilient your position was after sort of crumbling a little bit.
You know, I was surprised by that too. I feel like he should have been able to do more, and there was just never that killer move and everything was like just barely holding on.
After d6, I'm looking at the computer, it's giving minus 0.6, not as low as I would have expected. Oh, it wants to go queen d6 here. That doesn't surprise me, actually.
Yeah.
Yeah, I thought this bishop f6 might... Yeah, now you're lost. It just goes queen c6. It says, fuck you.
Except that's queen c6 is the only answer.
Is that true? Do you have multiple lines going?
Yeah, I keep 3 lines up. Next best is either bishop sack. They're both at about -1.
Oh, this just wins a piece.
Yeah.
How did we miss this? How did anyone miss this?
Same way my opponent did. Yep.
Yeah, like right. Yikes! That's a piece. Who knew? Bishop g2. It still says black is much better. What about rook f6? Black is much better.
Not as much, though.
Not as much, but bishop g2 is a nice move, actually. If you're not going to find queen c6, bishop g2 is a good shot.
Yeah. It actually has, I show 3 lines, and the top 3 moves are queen c6, and then the 2 bishop sacks are about equal. It actually likes h2 slightly better.
And it doesn't like this rook d1 move because of bishop f3. Yeah, bishop f3 is a little bit unpleasant for you. But
it actually prefers rook f6 on my end.
Really, it's telling me bishop f3 is slightly better. It probably means they're about equal. King g2.
Yeah, hair splitting.
And how is this so bad? Bishop e5 is a good move. Yeah, rook h6. I looked at that, actually.
I worried about that.
I thought... No, I looked at this in a different position. I looked at this only after rook g1 had been included, and you could go rook g2, and I thought you were okay.
Oh yeah, then it's fine.
Because here you have to go rook h1. But even here, is it so bad?
It actually is showing also sacking the pawn works as equally well, just playing h4.
Yeah, but what's so wrong with rook h1?
It's saying bishop f6 or rook h3.
So it's playing positionally.
Yeah.
Well, rook h3, that's a good move. Rook h3 is a really nasty move. Oh, man. Yep. That's a good little bit of geometry. Just sneaking the rook down there. Yikes. Yikes. That's a good move. Wow. Engines are smart. Who knew?
They really are.
Anyway, thank you so much, Archon. I'm going to end the stream because it's been about 3 hours.
Thank you. That was awesome.
And hope to have you on again. Maybe I'll get one of your games. I don't know. I just lucked out that there were
just
3 of you starting to come in.
Thank you.
Anyway, thank you everyone for watching. Thank you, Archon. And I will see you next week. Have a wonderful day.